So here we are, at last. It is budget day. It will be the budget in just a matter of hours, and the Chancellor will set out her plans for tax and spending.
But with a £30 billion black hole in the public finances, the question is, where will she raise the money needed to balance the books?
Well, families crippled by the cost of living, pensioners choosing between heating and eating. Question is, will the tax and spending commitments made today put the country on the road to recovery or lead us into further economic disaster?
Well, we're going to bring you the very latest throughout the day from across the country and find out how it's going to hit you in your back pocket.
Farmers, for instance, are set to descend in Whitehall. They're protesting in the government's decisions, which they say are crippling the farming industry.
Well, the Met Police have banned tractors from Westminster, and organisers say they've been forced to cancel that protest. But farmers here taking matters into their own hands as they demand Rachel Reeves reverses her family farm tax.
Millions of workers are set to get a pay rise as Rachel Reeves plans to increase the minimum wage. But could it actually threaten to push more young people out of work?
A deadline, the deadline for me is when it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing too many people.
President Trump backs away from tomorrow's deadline for the Ukraine peace plan.
Well, it comes as Keir Starmer demands British boots on the ground under the peace deal.
And in sport this morning, a great performance by Chelsea in the Champions League as they beat Barcelona 3-0. Not so good from Manchester City, who make too many changes, losing 2-0 at home to Bayer Leverkusen as Newcastle losing Marseille. And FIFA show incredible favouritism to Cristiano Ronaldo.
A cold and frosty start for many, a milder but wetter start for some. It's going to turn milder for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later for a full forecast.
Very good to see you on this Wednesday morning. Big day ahead. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So today we're expecting taxes on work, pensions, houses, taxis, milkshakes as well,
yes.
Hotels, and having a bit of fun, says the Sun. So it's all going off. So the Chancellor is set to deliver these tax-raising budget. She pledges to push ahead with her biggest drive for growth in a generation.
Well, middle-class families could be hit with a dirty dozen tax rises, as it's been described in the papers, as Labour expands their welfare state.
Rumours of an income tax rise have been quashed. She's looking to freeze tax thresholds for 2 more years to bridge a £30 billion gap in public finances.
Well, let's speak now to the economics expert, Justin Urquhart-Stewart, who joins us in the studio now. Morning to you, Justin. What do we know is coming today?
It's a very interesting point, just about anything and everything.
Yeah.
What we know, we can tell you what's not happening, is income taxes are going to go up. Well, actually, the threshold, it will do, because of the threshold's being frozen. No, there were all sorts of issues, and you were just going through that list of things like whether it was going to be sugar, fat tax, all sorts of different things. And this is the stupidity of it, because every time chancellors try to go into the detail, they get stuck. And because there are knock-on effects, which they hadn't actually thought about. Do you remember the pasty tax that also had to deal with? And that had to be rowed back. All those little things. As soon as you make it complicated, the knock-on effects just means you end up looking really rather stupid. She should have gone back and said, keep it simple. Remember, this is the budget you weren't supposed to have, because I wasn't going to come back with any more tax rises. Oh, really? Coming back with a lot of tax rises. So I'm afraid she's going to have a very difficult time of this, not because of the speech, but in 48 hours, when we've all picked our way through the Red Book to actually work out the knock-on effect, to actually see where the holes are and how much then has to be reversed.
I look at things and I do scratch my head. There's a lot of towns and cities around this whole country, in Leeds and Manchester and Belfast and Glasgow, where they're trying to increase hotel accommodation, right? So they're building hotels or whatever. Now she's taxing people staying in hotels. How does one thing encourage the other? I mean, take this sugar tax, for instance. You could argue it's a health move, but then if it puts people off sugar, you don't generate any money. So what is she? It seems desperate.
These sort of sin taxes you're going to have. Remember, there are only 3 main taxes in the country. You've actually got national insurance, you've got VAT, and you've got income tax. Even corporation tax isn't that large. And so everything else after that you can put into the sort of overall sin taxes, and you end up just mucking around with small amounts. So we're going to hear about a mansion tax. When we call that, it'll be something else. But even that, with the figures they're talking about, is only going to bring in a relatively small amount of money. It's not going to solve the underlying problem. Also, she's got her focus in the wrong direction. Instead of what penal issues do we have to have, as opposed to what encouraging issues to grow the economy, i.e. focus on those areas where we know it will have an impact.
But then why wouldn't she have been brave enough to say, I'm going to put income tax up by a penny or 2 pence or whatever?
And the perfect thing she should have done is going back to that old-fashioned economist John Maynard Keynes, who, after the Second World War, said, when facts change, my views change. What about you? And the facts have changed. So you could turn around and say, when I actually gave my original budget, that's what I was expecting to happen. I know it's completely different. I know it was in the manifesto, but things are different now. But I suspect it's probably the backbenchers saying, our manifesto we must stand by. It's an old document. It's out of date. And so's she, unless she realises actually to focus on the positive issue. Because one word you need coming out of a budget: confidence.
Confidence.
If you can do that, then actually the tax bits sort of go to one side. Confidence that we spend more, that actually companies invest more, and overseas individuals come in.
Let's see if James Price, who's a former political advisor, has confidence in what he's hearing so far, or what indeed James would give you confidence.
Well, good morning. I mean, I'm so unconfident that, like Ellie and Justin here, I'm dressing in red so that Rachel Reeves might think I'm a Labour backbencher and will try and appease me. I'm not sure it's going to work. There have been so much politics going on before all of this. As you say, there is a very bad economic situation, made much worse by the budget that she did last year. And as Justin said, we were never supposed to have this again. Last year was supposed to be so awful and terrible that she'd never have to come back for more tax rises.
Well, those words are going to haunt her today, aren't they?
Well, I think so. And by the way, it probably won't be enough, because you'll do all these tax rises, I think a dozen different ones going on, all this extra pain, the lack of confidence, more businesses stopping to invest, more people probably moving abroad. Do you think the situation's going to get better in 12 months?
Well, James,
you
said all these extra taxes and increasing earning power and whatever. So when it comes to a minimum wage or whatever, those, what is it, the minimum wage and what else is another
national
one?
Living.
National living wage. She's going to put those up. And a lot of people would say, well, that's a good thing, that's a fair thing, that's going to be good for all these low-earning people. Is it? And if so, why isn't it?
Well, I think it will, if you're in receipt of that, but it will make it less likely that businesses then hire people. And so younger people who are already struggling to get into work will find that bit more difficult. I think the big problem here, and there's sort of partly a philosophical difference, but partly I would say the kind of practical difference here, is if you tax people loads of money in all these different ways, you make them then affect the way they perform in their own lives, you try and put money in different places, it changes the way you behave. Exactly as Justice says, there's knock-on consequences. That is not something that the Treasury tends to be very good at working out why that happens. Much better for the government to spend less, to tax less, and let individuals and families and businesses make their own decisions with their own money, because they're better at doing it than even the cleverest boffin in the Treasury can ever be. And this is not the kind of socialist Labour mindset. And Rachel Reeves is, again, as Justin says, is going to get bogged down in all of these details. It's going to be all kinds of horrendous things. And unless she really changes everything she believes about her whole political philosophy and cuts all this wasteful spending and gets economic growth going and cuts taxes, which, by the way, is a massive drain on people's cost of living. The poorest people, actually, as a proportion of their income, spend more on taxes than anybody else does.
Well, that's
if she doesn't do this, it's all going to go wrong for her.
That's what's so fascinating. I mean, she's saying her core mission today is to cut the cost of living, to cut NHS waiting lists, and then the other one is cutting national debt. But if you're trying to cut back on the cost of living and then taxing people, on the other hand, I mean, how do you square that circle?
Was it Churchill said that taxing your way to prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle? This stuff just doesn't work, and she doesn't understand it, and is now instead going around saying, oh, well, I'm tired of people mansplaining to me and not respecting me, already trying to divert on these sorts of things. The fundamentals are that we spend way too much as a country, and even the most minor bits of public spending, the Labour backbenchers are up in arms about. They tried to save, what was it, £5 billion a few years ago. ago. It's a lot of money to you and me, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a tiny amount to be saved. They couldn't get it done, and the backbenchers, one of them came out and said, I don't understand. Well, the problem is, it's only a few billion quid, and that's the mindset that the Labour backbenchers have got. They all need to go and take at least an A-level in economics, and maybe they wouldn't be socialists afterwards.
So they're very good at spending, they're not very good at generating, Justin. How do you see the overall picture?
I'm very, very poor at the moment because it's, the underlying issue we were just sort of saying, increased wealth allows you to have more tax. I'm afraid if you increase tax, it does not increase wealth. It's the wrong way around. So actually focus on those areas where we can see growth. We know people are waiting to invest because they've held off investing because the budget was so late. Now, that may be relatively minor, but we've got a lot of foreign direct investment. We're actually, amazingly, we do attract a lot of foreign direct investment, but we're already losing that. That's going elsewhere. Why? Because they don't know which way this government is going. Yes. What's the medium-term plan? We don't trust you, and you want to measure for that, go back to the bond market.
This country's being deindustrialised, though, isn't it? We're getting rid of industry. What on earth do we replace industry with?
Now, here's what is one bit of good news, which, again, she should focus on. All those technology hubs around the country, all those lovely nicknames, of Silicon Roundabout, Silicon Glen, Fen, all those. And all that basically means there's a hub of high-tech businesses. And they breed. Once they're there and they've got the right technology, even in places which are regarded as being extremely poor, like West Cornwall, you'll find little hubs there and developing, which are quite remarkable. As long as they've got the infrastructure, and that's a big issue we've got, in terms of power and also in terms of communication and good internet access, it's amazing how that can develop. And, of course, that's not London-focused. That's all over the country. We've talked before about, actually, some of the initiatives we've seen in Belfast and developing there, creating new businesses and new technology. And, unfortunately, these companies start, they grow, and the Americans say, that's marvellous. Why don't you come over to Silicon Valley? And we lose them. So, actually, focus on the areas where we know we're good, and we replace the old industrialised areas with that. And that was the big issue we had. When Mrs Thatcher was in power, you went through her change, whatever you think of her, she didn't replace it with anything. That was the problem. Now you have another opportunity to say, we now know what to replace it with. Now encourage that to happen. Doesn't take a lot of money. Doesn't actually take any government money. You can actually do that by way of government guarantees with enterprise investment schemes and things like that.
I want to talk to you both about centralisation, which Justin brought up there. And Justin, before we come on air, you and I were talking about the dominance of Heathrow Airport, and Heathrow was being debated again yesterday. Why the concentration of seeing the whole world revolving around Heathrow? Why haven't we got an airport in Doncaster? Why don't we expand Manchester? Why isn't Glasgow featuring more? Why is it Heathrow? Why? I mean, personally, I would find if I lived in Nottingham, for instance, I would be quite annoyed that I would have to go to Heathrow to get to anywhere in the world.
Oh, realistically, when you think about it, actually we've got a lot of regional airports around, and as long as you've got reasonable connection to them, actually they could be, regarded as London. After all, is Luton about the same distance from London as Gatwick is? You've also got Stansted. You could even regard it as maybe Southend Airport as well. So there's no shortage of airports. It's the linkage to them, some of which is better than others. And also, originally, one of the old ideas was to put high-speed train into the West Country to allow, as you mentioned before, Bristol Airport potentially being a bigger hub. So long as you're with a reasonable connection to London, it's a sort of London airport. This country is not very big. So, unfortunately, we don't have put in that infrastructure to back it up. But the focus just on Heathrow, we all know what it's like going through Heathrow. It's a nightmare. And no matter how many more terminals you build, because the terminals may be big, but...
Just because it's a bigger nightmare.
A bigger nightmare. So bigger shopping centres with an airport attached to it.
James, bringing it back to the budget today and the potential political fallout of all of this, do you think this is a make or break budget for the Chancellor?
Yeah, I think so, because she's not going to please terribly many people. And the people that she is going to please, the backbenchers, by some of these giveaways. So things like the lifting of the two-child benefit cap, which is very, very unpopular in the country. I would say it's a wrong thing to do, to take away money from hard-working people in taxes and give them to people who can't afford to look after their own children. Things like that will appeal...
See, that's very interesting. Have I listened to that argument coming from a Labour MP or socialist people, they're talking about child poverty. They don't talk about increasing the taxes, they talk about taking children out of poverty. And I must admit, my natural instinct is to sit there and say, hold on, let me get this straight. So you want to have 6 children and I pay for them. And if I, who going through my life, think, can I afford to have this child? Yes or no, I act upon that. But you're just having children and I'm going to have to pay for it.
Right, and well, that is the mindset, isn't it? As Mrs Thatcher, to defend her, once said, the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. And Rachel Reeves has long ago run out of other people's money. She's running out of the bond traders' money. They're seeing that we haven't got any reasonable expectation of paying back lots of this money. If you want to help the poorest people out, then the best way to do it is to make energy costs lower, to make food costs lower, to get people to be richer, to grow that economy, as Justin said. If you've got growth, you can do all kinds of lovely things. Without it, things get really mean as people start fighting over what crumbs we've got. And I think that's what's going to happen after the end of this budget.
Well, it's very interesting talking to you two. And, gentlemen, stay with us throughout the morning and we'll come back to you and we'll hear what people are having to say about what Justin and James are saying and preaching today. One set of people that the government are not pleasing are farmers. And where are they going today?
Well, they're heading to Whitehall today to protest the government's tax decision. Let's speak now to national reporter Will Godley, who joins us now from Birkin Manor Farm. Very good morning to you, Will. How are the farmers behind you feeling this morning?
Morning to both of you. Well, they are pretty angry, actually, because they heard late last night that the Metropolitan Police were going to not allow them to bring their tractors into Whitehall. You can see some of the tractors behind me. There are about 50 or so tractors here, many of them with signs and protests on them. One says, "We can live without politicians, but we cannot live without farmers." Another one says, "Dig for victory." Another one here quoting Winston Churchill. None of these tractors allowed into Westminster under the conditions imposed by the Metropolitan Police, and farmers very angry, but here determined to still get their voices heard. And of course what they are calling for today is a reversal to that family farm tax announced in last year's budget, a 20% inheritance tax on assets over £1 million due to be introduced in April next year. That's what they're calling for today, and still want their voices to be heard. And some farmers here are going to still be driving their tractors into London, going around places where they still are allowed to go. We're joined now by George. George, you must be feeling furious that this isn't going ahead.
Absolutely, Will, yeah. I'm totally betrayed. We've been working on this for the last month. We've been working with the liaison officers with the Met. It was all approved. And, yeah, they pulled the plug on us at 3:10 yesterday.
And in terms of this budget, you're calling for a reversal for the family farm tax. Why is that so crucial to farmers?
If we don't get a reversal, they've got to amend this policy. I mean, a reversal, I think, is actually the best thing, to be quite honest. But if they don't amend this policy, it's going to bankrupt just about every family farm. If they have a parent die, that's going to be the end of their business.
And we're hearing things in the budget, leaks about income tax, pensions, properties. What would be the rabbit out of the hat for farmers today?
It'd be quite nice to be acknowledged that we actually exist, rather than just feeling completely betrayed by the government. And really, it is the government we're betrayed by. And there have been so many proposals put forward to them which would be a successful way of raising this tax, and they've completely ignored that. And this is from the farming side, not from their own view.
George, thanks for joining us on GB News. Farmers here want fairness. Rachel Reeves says in her budget today she's going to be making the decision.
Been frozen out of the picture there.
It looked really cold there as well, didn't it?
Well, it looks very cold, but here's the thing. Right, you can ban tractors going into London and say, terrible, you can't do this. Who will have the guts to arrest and sanction, take away these tractors and say, you're not coming in and we're going to do this? I would say that is political suicide if the police, Justin, were to implement that.
Oh, I'd imagine what the pictures look like, and in terms of, reflecting on the budget, then farmers actually being stopped by the police from their rights to be able to demonstrate their views.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I think the farmers have all the cards in this one. I mean, it's as if they've been stopped doing something, but civil disobedience would dictate that they have the power.
That's it. Well, you can't even go to courts anymore because we have any juries. We've got rid of those. Who's actually going to decide what to do? No, it is ridiculous. What you want to try and do is actually get more people to actually have their views and opinions and get that frustration out, and then the government can react to it and be seen to be actually connecting to it, rather than just actually pushing it away and ignoring it, because that, I'm afraid, just is like a problem fester.
Well, folks, have your say on this today. Tell us what you think. Should the farmers drive to London anyway in their taxis and say, right, stop us if you can? Let us know what you think.
Yeah, lots of you getting in touch today today. Somebody says, to the farmers, the pensioners, us alarm clock workers, the hospitality trade and businesses of all sizes, good luck today and good luck for the future, because we're going to need it. Do keep those views coming in. There is a new way of getting in touch with us.
Which is?
Friends of GB News. And you can vote in today's You Decide poll by scanning the QR code on your screen now. Just take the phone up to the screen, scan that little code there, and you can take part in this poll, which today is, have you already cut your Christmas spending ahead of the budget?
And if not, why not? Let's get your weather update now. We say good morning to Alex Deakin.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off, at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again, tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers. Compared to this morning, many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, is Britain ready to put boots on the ground as part of a peacekeeping force in Ukraine? Well, the Prime Minister certainly thinks so. We're going to be talking about that.
What do you think? Have you ever heard of a more stupid idea? Let us know, and we'll be reflecting that in the programme today. Today is stupid ideas after stupid ideas. Isn't it incredible? Back after this.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 6:26. Now, a major shift in the efforts to end the war in Ukraine. And Kyiv says it's reached a common understanding with the US on a new peace plan.
Now, this comes as Donald Trump has sent his envoy to Moscow to meet with President Putin and dispatches his army secretary to Ukraine. The US president had this to say just a few hours ago.
I have a deadline. You know what the deadline for me is? When it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing too many people. We're having good talks. We started with Russia. We're having some talks with Russia. Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
Well, let's speak now to former British Army spokesperson Major Michael Shearer, who joins us now. Very good morning to you. Lots of positive sounds there from the President. Realistically, how close do you think we are to a peace deal?
Sadly, I don't think we're any closer than we ever have been. I suspect that what we're witnessing now are the Europeans advising Zelensky basically to humour the offer to the president, who we all know is a little bit sensitive on occasions if he's not getting his own way. I also suspect that what they've said to Zelensky is just tell the president that you're happy with most of his plan, that you will accept the Russians having the ground that they've taken, and let's see how that flies. In law, basically they're saying, look, de facto, you've lost a little bit of ground here. So say, for the time being, let's leave it like that. But de jure, but in law, make the point that you won't give it away. Now, that may well appease President Trump, but it will not. It will not fly with Putin. The one thing that we can say about Putin is he has at least been consistent. He is not going to accept that. He will not accept. He will not accept any NATO countries under any other banner name being in Ukraine. And I'm afraid what we have here is a deal maker versus a troublemaker. And I think we all know that it's much easier to make trouble than it is to make a deal. This is almost a blueprint of what we've seen in 1938 when Neville Chamberlain went to see Hitler to negotiate how Hitler was going to move forward into the Sudetenland. Of course, Hitler gave the assurances that all he wanted was that slither of Czechoslovakia. And we all know what happened there. If you give these strong men an inch, they will take a mile.
Now, talking about taking a mile, Michael, you will know better than anyone as a former serving officer in the British Army, the Northern Irish situation and the army being used as a police force there and all that sort of thing. And Keir Starmer yesterday, if a peace deal was to come about, how would it be policed? And he wants British troops to be involved in that.
Well, look, as I said just a moment ago, Putin, what the Europeans are doing is they're trying to put this now, they're trying to get the naysayers as Putin. So I think they will have advised Zelensky to say yes to de facto situation as it sits, and yes to allowing various other countries to go into Ukraine and police the peace, knowing fine well that Putin will not accept it. And I'm afraid, look, we've all lived for decades now with what is known as Pax Americana, which is basically the notion that we can rely on our best ally to give us support in crises, i.e. the United States of America. I'm afraid Pax Americana is now fairly much dead. We cannot rely on the United States. Well, let me rephrase that. We cannot rely on this current American administration.
But are you saying, I mean, can you foresee a situation where British troops would be on the ground in Ukraine?
I think the United Kingdom and the Europeans will have said yes to that. But it's not going to happen. Putin will not entertain that idea. So you can offer what you want. And this is where the Europeans are obviously much more grounded in their politic and diplomacy than Trump is. They will offer whatever, they will appease Trump with whatever he wants to hear, knowing that Putin won't accept it.
OK. Michael, good hearing from you. That's Major Michael Shearer, former British Army spokesperson. Thank you very much indeed, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, just coming up to 6:32. It's time now for our daily reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hello, my name is Joel Knight and I'm a vicar in the Church of England. Does might make right? Too often those with might have said yes. Even those who come to power with noble intentions can find their position changes them. After all, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. What we need is accountability, some way to hold the powerful to account, which is why I'm grateful to live in a liberal democracy. But the problem is, the will and consent of the people is no guarantee of justice. Where there might we find a reliable source of accountability? While Jesus is on trial, the Roman governor Pilate tells Jesus he can do what he wants with Jesus. But Jesus responds, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above." Jesus claims Pilate's authority and power is given him from above. It is not his, but comes from the God who rules all things, which makes Pilate accountable not ultimately to himself or Caesar or the people, but to God. Might those with power use it more wisely if they understood it to be given from above? Might we, with whatever power and authority we have, use it more wisely if we understood it to be given from above?
Now let's reflect on the traffic news on this Wednesday morning. Here's how it's shaping up.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Today in the Scottish borders, drivers should be cautious due to chilly conditions. All lanes on the M54 westbound at Junction 2 are closed due to a collision with vehicles crossing the central reservation. On the A19 southbound between the A684 and A61, a broken down vehicle has caused a lane closure, expected to clear shortly. Local diversions are on the A55 eastbound between junction 31 and junction 32 near Holywell from 8 o'clock tonight. And on the trains, cross-country services are delayed between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst, while Northern operates buses between Corkicle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come. It was a good night last night for Chelsea, wasn't it? But a bad day for Man City. Paul Coyte's going to be here next to talk about all of that and much more.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, so Cristiano Ronaldo gets a ban after being sent off against Ireland. And that ban was for how many matches?
3 games.
And there was just 3 FIFA games.
Yeah, World Cup.
International games.
Yeah, international games.
But
well, he elbowed Dara O'Shea.
Yeah.
It's a bit of this.
Yeah.
So there are 3, there's different rules. So if you get a red card, just a general red card, you get a 1-match ban, which would have kept him out of the qualifier against Armenia. Serious foul play is a 2-match ban. Violent conduct is a 3-match ban. So obviously...
that was deemed violent conduct.
That was violent conduct. So Cristiano Ronaldo, violent conduct, 3-match ban. Now, FIFA, with normally they would have to play through, it carries now over into the World Cup. Now,
well,
obviously...
and you can see why.
Well, FIFA would love Cristiano Ronaldo to appear straight away in the World Cup. So strangely, they've changed their rules, so he is now suspended and on probation for a year If he ever elbows anybody again, I mean, it's crazy. If he ever commits a similar offence, then he will then have to face a 3-match ban. So it's unlikely it's going to happen. So it's crazy. So for Cristiano Ronaldo, anybody else, it's a 3-match ban. But because it's going into the World Cup, FIFA have decided, you know what? We'll change the rules.
It's good box office for them.
But it's that terrible, though.
It is.
It's like 2-tier.
It's awful. I mean, don't you think that maybe he's got friends in high places? I can't understand. Oh, well, I have no idea. But seriously, it's just like a ridiculous thing. It doesn't matter. If it was any other player, nobody would take any notice at all. Maybe if it was Messi, maybe if it was another big name, but it's not right. I just think it's really bad that they're going to change it around.
But it's happening.
It is happening.
Champions League
deal with it.
Tonight and last night. Bring us up to date.
Right, so Chelsea beat Barcelona 3-0. I mean, Barcelona are probably not as good as they used to be, but Chelsea were...
Great night for them.
Excellent. They were excellent yesterday. So they won easily. Esteval, third teenager to score in each of his 3 Champions League games for Chelsea, because it was like him and Lamine Yamal, there's Lamine Yamal there, who is the great Barcelona wunderkind, and they ended up going off and he wasn't so good. But it's the first time in 14 years, both teams in the Champions League have scored an own goal and had a red card against them as well.
Goodness.
I like a fact.
Yeah.
I like a fact.
Well,
the fact is that Newcastle were beaten at Marseille.
They were 1-0 up against Marseille, and then there was Nick Pope, had a bit of a rush of blood, ran out, and then the goal was given away. So, but anyway, Marseille beat Newcastle 2-1. And Manchester City, I mean, got beaten at home to Bayer Leverkusen. So anybody that's thinking Man City are back and everything's going to be fine, I wonder. So Pep Guardiola made 10 changes yesterday to the team. So that's obviously the reason. Yeah. And you know when they lose and he does a press conference, he gets a little uncomfortable. He starts a bit of arms. Well, I don't know what happened, but this is afterwards. And this is when he was asked whether it was the right thing that he made so many changes. Here's Pep, and I don't know where his hands are.
Yeah, too many changes. So it's a good... Yeah, what I said always, I believe that in long seasons, every 2 days, 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, everybody has to involve, but maybe it was too much seeing the result. I think they play to don't make a mistake, and instead to play to do what you have to do.
There he is, itching all over.
Very fidgety.
Tonight, it's Liverpool, Arsenal and Spurs in action in the Champions League. Paul, for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
It's the great Christmas giveaway.
There's just 29 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Up next, would you have Prince Andrew's name associated with your street? We're going to be talking about that to our 2 newspaper guests who are here, ready and waiting. That's Norman Baker and Claire Muldoon. Right after this, don't go away.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny skies for much of Spain on Thursday, not particularly warm, however. More wet weather to come for parts of Italy and some warm winds blowing across the Greek islands. Reasonably warm in the Canary Islands with a chance of 1 or 2 showers. Fine and sunny, as I said, over most of Spain, but it is on the cool side here. Cold winds bringing plenty of showers to Sardinia and Sicily. Some heavy rain heading to Athens, but the Greek islands further east staying dry and sunny. Santorini, though, seeing showers this weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Presenter and businessman Jeff Banks joins us this afternoon. Jeff, so good to see you. Your piece on X was quite sensational. Can you tell people what you said? Because some people, X went down a little while ago. Some people may not have seen it. Can you give us a summary of what you said?
Yes, last August, I got a letter saying that I hadn't got a BBC licence. And I wrote back and I said, I've not watched BBC television for a couple of years now. I don't listen to BBC radio, and therefore I don't want a licence, and I'm not prepared to pay for one. I then got quite a reasonable letter back acknowledging that, to say that it had been noted that my premises no longer required a BBC licence. Then about a month after that, I started getting the first of a threatening letter that I didn't have a licence, and that if I continued without one, I possibly could actually face a fine of £1,000. Then I got another one, and then another one. And then finally last week, I got the fifth, which actually not only was threatening the fine of £1,000, but actually saying I was now on a list that meant an inspector would be likely to actually call on me. And at that point, I felt that that was harassment. So I then wrote back to the BBC and said that you're now, in my opinion, harassing me. Either you stop doing that and desist, or I'll have no alternative to actually put it in the hands of my lawyers, and they can actually fight the battle.
GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
What's making the news? Find out now with Norman Baker and Claire Muldoon. Norman, budget day.
Well, I mean, it's a budget day it is, but we've had weeks and weeks of statements from the Chancellor leaking stuff out.
It's been chaos.
It's been chaos. It's one of these irregular verbs.
It makes me laugh. Chancellor leaking stuff out and saying, you guys are making this up. I mean, you're speculating.
This is an irregular verb. I brief, you leak, he commits an offence under the Official Secrets Act. Yeah. That's how the verb goes. And the reality is that we've had stuff coming out today only about the income tax threshold. Yeah. With stuff about rail fares coming out a couple of days ago. You know, what's wrong with this woman that she can't organise a budget speech as previous chancellors did?
Because she's afraid of bad reaction, isn't she?
Well, stuff like the rail fares, which is a good news story, actually, freezing rail fares.
Yeah.
Why don't they put it in the budget? Because there's a lot of bad stuff in the budget. Why not keep the good stuff to offset it in the budget? Yeah. Makes no sense. And she's
to ease the nervousness and the anxiety.
Well, she's created the opposite, actually. She spoke to markets in the meantime. She's created a whole lot of bad news. I'm not quite sure what's there. Apart from anything else, I might just say as a former MP, you know, it is insulting to Parliament to have all this stuff in the papers before it's announced to Parliament
the
itself.
Speaker's not very happy at all. I mean, he was saying just yesterday we shouldn't know anything about the budget until budget.
Exactly.
Well, it's true, absolutely true. And it seems to me that she's been trying to warm up the public for public opinion using that optic. And she's also trying to warm up the markets as well. I mean, let's not forget, this has been stress tested before she's going to issue it today. And I can't stand the briefings that she's given. And, you know, then the threatening people and saying they're misogynists. And, you know, and for mansplaining, you know, the woman is an absolute liability if we want to use economic
So
terms.
I'm taking it she hasn't warmed you up enough.
Certainly not.
Right, OK, this is what she's had to say. This is another one of her little videos that she's leaked about saying nothing about everything. Here we go.
Know that people feel frustrated at the pace of change or angry at the unfairness in our economy. I have to be honest that the damage done from austerity, a chaotic Brexit and the pandemic were worse than we thought. But I'm not going to duck those challenges.
So do you object against that sort of thing, Norman?
Well, it's probably true that Brexit and the pandemic are worse than we thought, but that's not the point, is it? The point is you've got to deal with the situation.
As well, surely.
Of course. They've been there a year. They had a bad inheritance from the Conservatives, let's be frank about that. But she's responsible for the decisions they take now. And they've made a mess of things in the last 12 months. The first thing they did was announce a cut in winter fuel allowance. That's the first thing they did. You know, politically, never mind the rights and wrongs of the issue, politically, you don't announce that in the show and you wrap it up in the budget. It's got no political sense.
Well, the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, is bedonned with a wig and is over all the newspapers today because the news is clear. The jury trials are to be scrapped, may well be scrapped, except for rapists and killers.
Yeah, well, exactly, but we don't know until they're proven guilty that they are killers or rapists or sexual deviants. And don't forget, 1215 Magna Carta said that no free man shall be seized or imprisoned except by the lawful judgment of his equals.
Yes.
And by the removal of a jury system in this country, it's a slight to democracy. Not only is it a pivot for Lammy...
There's an £80,000 backlog
in cases. Right, so why then has the courts been stripped of their geographical location, their environments and of legal representation since 2010 through to 2019? Instead of raising money for welfare and putting it all into benefit claimants who are actually going to outstrip those in the private sector and indeed other sectors for payments, why give people who are out of work more money instead of fundamentally underpinning the ethos and the morality of this country, which is the right to be trialled by your peers?
And even David Lammy, I mean, just 5 years ago, was talking about this being a bedrock of our democracy.
And he was right then, and he's wrong now.
It's a waste of time and money. It's a waste of time for the jurors taking part, and it's a complete waste of money. I put it to you, Norman. Why would you argue differently?
I couldn't agree with you less, Eamonn, on that particular point. The reality is that it's an essential part of our system of democracy in this country, liberty, that you are tried by your peers.
Look,
you've had examples
we have
before.
only judge courts in Northern Ireland.
Yes, and look at Northern Ireland's history. The history of judges trying to lean on juries. Take the Clive Ponting case back in the 1980s, when the judge was leaning on the jury to find him guilty. The jury said no. The jury were directed to find him guilty and said no. You've got to have that sense of entitlement for the jury to reach their own decision. And I have to say that I worry about this a great deal. You know, Labour cannot be trusted on civil liberties. They really can't. And
I don't think they can be trusted on anything.
Well, they can't be trusted on civil liberties. And when we came into power in 2010, the coalition of the Conservatives, Lib Dems, the first thing that we did, and we both agreed across party, get rid of the ID cards, which Labour had, and stop this 90 days without trial Labour wanted in the last days. 90 days without trial. They can't be trusted. This is, and Claire was right, what you have to do is invest properly in the legal system. We've seen cuts to juries, we've seen cuts to the courts, we've seen cuts to prison services, cuts to legal aid.
OK, we've a minute before the break. Got to cut you there, Norman. Claire, right, OK. Prince Andrew Way is in Carrickfergus in Northern Ireland, but maybe not for much longer.
Residents of this area, of this street, want the name removed. They want to change the nomenclature. And the residents in Carrickfergus, in this street, had always wanted a tie to the royal family. So the residents have said, we want rid of this name, Prince Andrew Way. There's mooting to change it to perhaps Queen Elizabeth Way or Princess of Wales Way. But let's, you know, my view is don't change change the name.
Really?
Yeah, well, you know, it could be another Prince Andrew, or it could be in the future someone else. Why go to all the hassle, all the money to change the name of a street?
Oh, I wouldn't want to live on a Prince Andrew.
Move then, move.
There's three or four across the country, Prince Andrew Ways or Prince Andrew Street. And one parent I saw quoted in the paper said, you know, how do I explain to my kid who Prince Andrew is? That was his attitude.
What, do you always explain to your child what your...
Well, you do. If you're asked who Prince Andrew is, you have to give an answer, don't you?
More revelations about Prince Andrew and accusations coming out all the time, which he tends to avoid or deny. But make up your own mind. Guys, thank you both very much indeed. Here's your weather update.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off, at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again, tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers. Compared to this morning, many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists should be cautious as low temperatures impact the Scottish borders. The A419 southbound between junctions with the A684 and A61 faces disruption due to a broken down vehicle, with one lane closed. In Staffordshire, the M54 westbound entry slip at junction 2 is closed due to a vehicle crossing the central reservation. Attention is drawn to the M48, which has a weight restriction above 7.5 tonnes indefinitely. And on the trains, cross-country services report delays between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst, and Merseyrail is experiencing disruptions between Rock Ferry and Hooton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. It's budget day. In just a matter of hours, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, will set out her plans for tax and spending.
But with a £30 billion black hole in public finances, where will she raise the money needed?
With families crippled by the cost of living and pensioners choosing whether to eat or heat their homes, will the tax and spending commitments made today put the country on a road to recovery or lead us into economic disaster?
How are you feeling about that? We'll bring you the very latest throughout the day from right across the country and hear how it is hitting people's back pockets.
Farmers are set to descend on Whitehall in protest of the government's decisions, which they say are crippling the industry.
Yeah, the Met Police has banned tractors from Whitehall, but farmers still determined to have their presence in the capital. Going to be driving slowly on tractors like these throughout the capital as they demand Rachel Reeves reverses the family farm tax.
Interesting. What are they going to do about that? Millions of workers set to get a pay rise as Rachel Reeves plans to increase the minimum wage. But could that threaten to push more young people out of work? We'll be debating it.
A deadline. You know what the deadline for me is? When it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing.
President Trump backs away from tomorrow's deadline for the Ukraine peace plan. It comes as Sir Keir Starmer demands British boots on the ground under a peacekeeping force.
Sport this morning, Champions League, great performance by Chelsea as they beat Barcelona 3-0. Not so good from Manchester City, who make too many changes, losing 2-0 at home to Bayer Leverkusen as Newcastle lose in Marseille. And FIFA show incredible favouritism to Cristiano Ronaldo.
A cold and frosty start for many, a milder but wetter start for some. It's going to turn milder for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later for a full forecast.
A very good morning to you. Thank you very much indeed for your company. We're here until 9:30 this morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So here we are on budget day, and the Chancellor is set to deliver her tax-raising agenda as she pledges to push ahead with the biggest drive for growth in a generation.
Well, let's take a listen to her preview the budget, where she claims Labour will deliver on their promise of change.
Today, I'm going to take the fair and the necessary choices to deliver on our promise of change. I'm not going to return Britain back to austerity, nor will I lose control of public spending with more reckless borrowing. I will take action to help families with the cost of living. We've already frozen rail fares, begun rolling out free breakfast clubs, and we've raised the national living wage for millions of working people. And today I will go further. I will take action to cut hospital waiting lists by protecting record investment in our NHS and tackling waste in the public sector so that your money goes towards frontline services.
Well, we're also going to talk about a dirty dozen of tax rises which could hit middle-class families as Labour expands the whole welfare state.
Well, rumours of an income tax rise have been quashed as the Chancellor now looks to freeze tax thresholds for 2 more years in order to bridge the £30 billion gap in the public finances.
Well, let's speak to former political advisor James Price on this and economics expert Justin Urquhart-Stewart, both of whom join me in the studio. Gentlemen, good morning to you. James, are you looking forward to today?
Well, you say good morning. I'm not sure what's going to be good about it. We might just have a few more hours to snafu money out of the country or whatever else. I think the part of the problem we've got is we've been waiting for this day for so long because Rachel Reeves announced the date of this, months and months ago, thinking that the economy would improve. Of course, hope is not a strategy, as many people will tell you. It's not improved. And in fact, by this phrase of flying kites, this idea of being that you leak something out into the papers and see what the reaction to it will be. And so you say, oh, I'm going to raise a tax on so-and-so. And obviously everybody then goes, no, that will be terrible. I'm going to raise this tax. No, it will be terrible. So all these ideas have been floated out. They've all been shot down. Why? Because, well, business understands that all of this stuff is going to be damaging to them. Families understand all of these rises will be damaging to them. And so there's a lack of confidence, as Justin has said before as well, lack of investment coming in. And so all of these things, we talk about sometimes budgets getting unwound in the days that follow. This budget has been unwound several times before it's even been announced. The whole thing is such a pig's ear.
What have you made of the timing of this budget? It is very late in the autumn. We're just a month away from Christmas. Do you think that's added to the anxiety being felt up and down the country, not only by people, but for businesses as well?
I think there's definitely something to do. There are people working out what they're going to do, as you say, for Christmas, how to make ends meet, starting the new year, what it's going to look like. Also, I think as the weather turns, things start getting, that sounds silly, but it's getting more miserable for people. And for people that look like they're going to be leaving the country, this again sounds silly. So many of my friends are moving to Dubai and places like that, where there's no crime, unlike here, and there's not very much tax, and the weather's still nice. This is the problem. What is keeping younger people or lots of other people in Britain, other than a sense of patriotism and our families and things? Obviously, those are important. But when you see where all this money that's being raised in taxes is going to be spent on, it's going to be wasted, it's going to be spent very poorly, you can understand why people are starting to think, is this country just a busted flush?
OK. Gentlemen, do stay with us. Yeah. We are just going to cross over to the Lib Dems now because the Foreign Affairs spokesperson for the Liberal Democrats, Callum Miller, joins us now. Good morning to you, Mr Miller.
Good morning.
And what are you expecting from the budget later on from Rachel Reeves? We're hearing from her that it's going to be fair and necessary.
Well, I think this is an opportunity for the Chancellor to listen to the many households around the country who are really struggling with the cost of living and to the businesses who've been squeezed by her last budget. The leaks and the preludes that we've been given by the Labour government don't look too promising when it comes to that front. But what we desperately need is a budget that puts growth back into the UK economy and grows the tax revenue in that way, rather than cutting the budgets of households and the budgets of our businesses who are really struggling.
Well, none of that's going to happen, so why bother wasting your time and your breath pleading for it?
Because there's so much more that our country can achieve, and I'm disappointed that this Labour government hasn't put its shoulders to the wheel and come up with really good ideas that would deliver the growth that we so desperately need. The last budget hit so many people. It hit small businesses, it hit households, and this is an opportunity for the government to right that. But Callum, as an opposition party, we'll continue to push for that, Eamonn.
Callum, you talk about growth. They've talked about growth. They can't produce that growth. Nobody on the political front seems to know how to grow the economy in any way. What would your suggestions be this morning?
Well, there are two things that are really hampering businesses. When I speak to those in the pub trade or other businesses really struggling on the high street, trying to keep going, they talk about how they were clobbered by the national insurance rate tax increase last time round, and they talk about the red tape that they face as they try to go about their businesses. We think that there's a great opportunity for the government to cut some of that red tape by improving our relationship with Europe, especially for our small manufacturers and our exporters who are tied up in that red tape and unable to grow their businesses. So that's a real opportunity for the government to get on with that relationship with Europe and to improve the growth prospects for our country.
And do you think the country itself is open to improved relations with Europe? I mean, bearing in mind Brexit and all that, do you think people's minds have changed and they've thought, maybe we didn't get that right? Maybe that is costing us a lot in terms of financial income?
That's very much my impression. When I speak to the businesses in my community and when I speak to other hard-working folk, they can see that there's a big opportunity there. And this isn't an ideological thing, it's an entirely pragmatic thing. We've chosen a type of Brexit that makes it so hard for our exporters to get on with trading with our biggest partner. And just some simple changes could generate more revenue for the Treasury, so they don't have to raise taxes on us, but also allow those businesses to grow and thrive with what is, after all, still our biggest trading partner.
OK, Callum Miller, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. Thank you. Justin Urquhart-Stewart. So Callum Miller's talking there about improving relationships with Europe and expanding trade with Europe. And I asked him, do you think the country has now rethought the position with Europe, or they're more in a mood to do that? What would your overall impression be?
I think people are so confused by what happened over Europe anyway, didn't really understand what the effect of Brexit was going to be, what type of Brexit was going to be. No one actually told us anyway. The key element is this. If you are living next door to the world's largest free trade group, free trade bloc, and you haven't got a proper relationship with it, you're missing out on something. Doesn't matter if you're pro-Europe or not. Actually, a free trade area, you need to have agreement with them. Doesn't mean you have to be part of it, but you have to actually try and make sure you actually have some proper trade. We are obviously missing out on a significant amount, and will continue to lose more because trade will go where it's easiest, and therefore the more barriers you put in the way, more chances of business going elsewhere.
James, what do you make of what you just heard there from Callum Miller?
Well, I agree that people are probably confused and slightly bored by all of the Brexit shenanigans and all the rest of it. I just think it's very sad that you call it a free trade bloc. Of course, you could call it the world's biggest protectionist bloc because they have a great big set of walls around Europe, and inside those walls, yes, it may be free trade, but they have even more bad regulations and red tape and all the rest of it than we do in Britain, and we haven't yet taken enough advantage of that. I'm not sure the Labour Party, the Prime Minister of whom was campaigning for a second referendum and all the rest of it, is the person to fix this. But in a few key areas, the start of the Ukraine war, when we were able to arm the Ukrainians before anyone else in the EU was, when it comes to vaccines and getting those distributed, we got it to do it much, much faster. So in the key areas of this decade, it's been beneficial for Britain to be outside of the European Union, and we could do so much more. I also just think with it as a share of the world economy, as Europe recedes, we could do so much more with growing parts, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's our American cousins and others. I still think you're right. We should have a good relationship with Europe, and we could lead by example of showing them how to get rid of all the red tape nonsense they've got. Whether they'll listen to us is another story, but I do think it's a bit of a sideshow compared to all the stuff we could do domestically on energy and all the rest of it that we could do to make people's lives much better.
Justin, what do you make of this boost to the national living wage and also to the minimum wage at the same time? It's being described as inflation busting, so great news if you're in receipt of better pay, especially for young people, but this could have unintended consequences, couldn't it?
I think one of the most infuriating points about this, if you're running a business and suddenly you're being told, actually, your cost of wages have just gone up. Hang on a second, who's in charge of this? They haven't put wages up. No, I'm running a business. I'm having to put in the wages up. I'm having to pay for it. So how dare you actually tell me, therefore, how I'm supposed to run my business? So I quite understand that you actually want to increase that lower paid. But actually, the better ways of trying to do that through the taxation system rather than anything else. But the knock-on effect will be exactly the same as you saw with national insurance. It's another reason not to employ someone at the moment. It's too expensive. And until I can work out how that's going to pan out, I will delay my employment. I may even have to get rid of one or two people as well. I'm afraid that's just not people sort of talking fearsome about it. That's what we have seen over the past year.
It's such a great point, by the way, about the Labour government thinking it knows better than people, individuals, how they spend their money and how businesses run it. In the Employment Rights Bill, they want to make it so that any business with more than 20 people should have to open its doors entirely to trades unions to go and tell you how to run your business. What on earth do these Labour politicians know about running businesses, about running your lives?
Gentlemen, thank you both very much indeed. Invaluable thoughts there. Thank you. Meanwhile, we're going to go to the farmers who are heading to Whitehall today. Neil O'Brien saying two-tier policing. When a Palestinian protest gathered to chant outside a synagogue on Sunday, the Met Police said there is no legal mechanism to ban this protest. Neil's point being, but somehow they have been able to ban the farmers going into London to do what they do. Well, we've got a reporter there on the scene. That's Will Godley. And Will, are they going anyway? And if so, where are they going to?
Well, Eamonn, Ellie, good morning to you from a tractor. We are on our way into London. Some farmers going to Whitehall, going outside House of Parliament. They are allowed there, but on foot. What's banned is vehicles and tractors. So this tractor that we're on now will be, rather than going to Whitehall, driving slowly around London, effectively going on a tour of the Christmas lights. Douglas Turner tells me. Douglas, you're driving me very, very kindly. We're just going past Heathrow Airport. Why is it important for you to be in London today?
Well, it's important for us to be in London today because we need to show solidarity about the inheritance tax that Rachel Reeves is putting on farmers. They need to raise that threshold maybe to 7 million, or they need to cancel it altogether. There are many farmers that are ill prepared to be able to deal with this in 1 year. It's unfair. I can understand why it's come in. It's because of all the farmers that have bought it not to farm it, but to actually take advantage of the inheritance tax loophole. Maybe that's what she was trying to fix, but she hasn't fixed it. It wasn't really broke, but she tried to put a Band-Aid over it, and she's made a hash of it.
And Douglas, in terms of when you heard yesterday this tractor protest effectively not going ahead, how did that make you feel to not be allowed to have your voice heard from your tractor outside Westminster?
Well, we were all gutted, really, because we've done the tractor rally down Whitehall many times before. We've had good feedback of why when we were there, because unlike other protesters, we don't cover the police in orange stuff, we don't fight them, but in fact we had a hog roast and we were feeding them last time and they were very happy with us. But for them not to have us to come along there at the last minute, we think the Met's been got at from someone higher up the food chain, and they're frightened and they're scared. But unfortunately, we are farmers, we're to unite together and we feed the country, and we're going to show we are worth it.
OK, Douglas, thanks for joining us on GB News. As you can see, we are making our way into London now, where tractors like this and many others will be driving slowly around the streets of the capital, making sure their voices are heard today.
Brilliant reporting there, Will. Thank you for bringing that to us, and we'll keep in touch with you as you make your way down to London in that tractor. Thank you very much.
And lots of you have been getting in touch this morning. There is a brand new way to get involved in that conversation by becoming a friend of GB News, and you can do that for free. Have a look.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
And so many of you already getting in touch with us this morning. Thank you so much. This one's broken my heart. It's from Kirsty, who says, I've had to cut my gift budget to just £5 per person for this Christmas. As a family, we're not going to do Christmas at all this year. The food shop will be whatever the food bank has. A weekly shop for just two of us is £25. Our energy bills have wiped out almost everything else. That's the reality for so many people, isn't it?
Colin saying Starmer should stop giving her money away. Janet says my daughter's just got her first house. She works hard. She doesn't think she will be able to afford to have children because of childcare costs. Starmer says the budget will be fair. It isn't fair to give my hard-earned money, says General, to those arriving illegally in Britain. Martin says just wait until her taxes start tanking the economy even further. She will be done for. Now, friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll. What you do is, on your screen there, you have that, you scan that, what's that called?
A QR code.
A QR code, be nice. Good, good. Have you already cut your Christmas spending ahead of the budgets? You scan that QR code and you decide by saying yes or no on that, and we will reflect that with you
Justin and James, just your reaction to some of those views there. I saw you shaking your head at people talking about the reaction to the budget and how they're feeling.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? I mean, we talk about what goes on in Westminster, and it's just the kind of argy-bargy, team blue, team light blue, team red, team yellow, whatever else. It's not. The decisions that get made in that place affect everybody. They can ruin lives. And I think that all politicians tend to forget this. The question used to be in the 70s, who governs Britain? It now feels to me the question is, in whose interest is Britain being governed? And when you see millions of people coming from other countries on benefits, whether legally or illegally, and yet on the other side you see people who work every hour God gives, whether it's farmers or anybody else, being taxed until the pips squeak. I mean, it's just, frankly, I'm going to say it's evil. It's an evil way that the country is going to be governed if that's in whose interests you're governing, rather than those people who deserve to be looked after and cared for.
It's a good word that you used there, James, evil. I mean, who would be a farmer? You look, Justin, you look at any of us and we do what we do, and people may say you work hard or you don't work hard. I don't work as hard as a farmer.
Yeah, farmer, you're absolutely tied to that land every single day of the year. You can't just wander off and go say, well, I'm off for 2 months, now I'm going to have a break.
Christmas Day, everything, you're there all the time.
The cows ain't going to sit there with pulling crackers between them whilst you're having Christmas. So it is hideous, and it's bring this back. This is the real life stories that are being affected, and people coming through and realising, actually go back to that cost of living, and particularly in terms of the fuel costs as well. Horrendous stories coming out, and here we are talking about some of the broader issues of the economy, where our leaders are not actually providing proper leadership in terms of actually making sure that we know where we're going, and also giving us some optimism and saying, actually, we're on the right path. This is what we have to do. Britain isn't broken, but if you go around telling people actually we're broken, eventually that sort of comes true.
It doesn't lead to confidence.
Damaged. And how do you repair that damage? We have some positive areas. For heaven's sake, highlight some of those so that if you don't have the money now, actually we can show that actually the country can earn more money and can grow out of it. It takes time.
OK, Justin, thank you for your time this morning. Very much appreciated.
And James, thank you.
Have your say. Please do have your say. Get in touch with us and we will record, register and hopefully reflect your vote. Let's get your weather update. Alex Teakin.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off, at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again, tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers. Compared to this morning, many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, we have a lot of questions to ask right after the break and hopefully provide you with the right sort of answers. We're asking, is paying higher taxes worth it so that the triple lock can be kept on pensions? And I know what you're thinking. what the heck is the triple lock? We'll be debating that and talking about it and trying to explain it next.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
This farmer protest, which the tractors coming into London, tractors have been banned from going to Westminster, but Pamela says, I fully support the farmers. I hope they make a very loud protest outside Parliament when Rachel from Complaints is speaking. I'll not read the rest of it.
Zintar says farmers should block the M25 with their tractors. We know the French would.
Well, they would, wouldn't they?
They would.
Yeah.
Will Godley's on a tractor on the way down to London with some farmers. We are going to be checking with him throughout the programme.
Dave says, today the Christmas Grinch really makes it smooth. And John says, Reeves is giving with one hand, taking with two. Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Richard Fuller, I doubt would disagree with any of that. Richard, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
How much of a Grinch do you think the Chancellor will be today?
Well, of course, she has delayed this budget to just before Christmas, but we really shouldn't be here. She promised last year that she wouldn't be coming back for more, that she'd wipe the slate clean, but of course all those promises now lie in the dust. And I think she has put herself in a very difficult situation, and the big decision today is she going to lean into appeasing Labour MPs? Yeah. Leaning into Labour MPs, or is she going, Eamonn, or is she going to be looking after the British public?
What do you make of the farmers being told at 3:30 yesterday afternoon that they could not bring their tractors outside of Westminster? They could not bring their tractors to Whitehall. Neil O'Brien, your colleague, saying this is an example of two-tier policing, that Palestinian protesters were allowed to take over central London for Saturdays for months on end over the past year or so, but it's farmers who have been banned from bringing their tractors here. What do you think?
Well, Conservatives believe in peaceful protests, and there are no more peaceful protesters than our farmers. In fact, I've just passed 3 tractors there parked up with the police, talking to people about why they are there. And of course our farmers should have the right to come to London to press their case on the disastrous decision, one of many that Rachel Reeves made last year, which is having a real impact on family farms. So, of course, my colleague Neil O'Brien was right. Farmers should have the right to protest. That's a British tradition. We've got to stop these Labour attacks on our traditional British form of justice.
Well, talking about attacks on justice, what do you make of David Lammy talking about scrapping jury trials for most crimes, that juries would only decide upon cases of murder, rape and manslaughter?
Well, I think it'd be the wrong thing to do. We've had this right in our country. It's one of those signal rights about British justice that countries and people who are under oppression always look to, that you get the chance in England to have a trial if you've done something wrong by a jury of your peers. But what makes this doubly bad is that David Lammy is being such a hypocrite, because he, in his own words, he has said in the past that jury trials are important and that we should increase the amount of time that judges sit and juries are called, so that people can continue to expect that traditional British right.
But Richard, we can't continue to accept a backlog. I mean, in the region, we have a backlog of 80,000 cases which aren't reaching court. Something's got to be done to speed up the process.
And that's what Mr. Lammy said when he was in opposition. That's what my colleague Robert Jenrick has said. And their answer, both of their answers, the old David Lammy and Robert Jenrick, is that courts should be made to sit regularly. And I believe, Eamonn, that is also the position of the Chief Justice of the UK. Now, that would mean to make sure that money is made available from the Ministry of Justice budget. But you have to ask yourself, if there is a backlog, is the right first answer to rip up centuries of British justice, the way we expect people to have trials, or is it to find a way to make the system work more effectively? Robert Jenrick is right. We can have more effective justice by making courts sit more frequently.
But Richard, with all due respect, you ripped up that when it came to Northern Ireland, and people have diplock courts there, and now we're in a situation where, since the Good Friday Agreement, it is a judge only, not a judge and jury in so many cases.
Yeah, look, Eamonn, I'm not an expert on Northern Ireland, but you're right. I remember back in my younger days about the diplock courts, but that doesn't mean that that is the right approach for British justice in the long term. I think British people expect and anticipate that we would have at the head of our justice system a member of the cabinet who would be supporting all the things that we learn about in school. One of the first things I learned in school was the importance of jury trials. So I accept your point, Eamonn, but I don't think that then means that that's the right thing to do in the rest of the UK.
Okay.
Bringing you back to the budget today, are the Tories supportive of the boost to both the national living and minimum wages? What does this mean for young people? What does this mean for businesses?
Well, I think we've got to look at those things in the round. A lot of small businesses, remember, most people, most young people for sure, get their first job by working for a small business. And we know that business confidence at the moment is at an all-time low. I think the Institute of Directors in their most recent survey said it was an all-time low, and they pointed to this increase in the cost base for employing people as part of that reason for the lack of confidence. So of course it's nice when people can get an increase in pay, but if you take last year's increase and this year's increase in the minimum wage, not the living wage, but the minimum wage, that's a 25% increase in the cost of employing a young person. That will have an effect on whether businesses want to take the risk by taking someone who is new and perhaps unskilled and train them up. And when you layer on top of that Labour's job-destroying employment, quote-unquote, rights bill, which will put more regulations on small businesses, you look at the round of all that and you have to say, what is that going to do to the employment prospects of young people to get a job in the first place?
Richard Fuller, thank you very much indeed for your comments today. Richard is the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury on what it is a big day financially there in Parliament. Thank you very much, Richard. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do stay with us. Coming up, should we keep the triple lock? We're going to be debating that next on GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists on the A47 southbound between Pontypridd and Nantgarv face delays due to congestion. In Stockton-on-Tees, debris has closed lanes on the A19 northbound entry slip from the A689. An accident on the M54 westbound entry slip at Junction 2 involved a vehicle crossing the central reservation. In Buckinghamshire, one lane is closed on the M25 clockwise between junctions 16 and 17 due to a collision. The M25 clockwise entry slip at Junction 3 in Kent has a collision causing lane closure. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m, only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Right, it's only a few hours to go before the budget, and Rachel Lewis, what time is she speaking at?
12:30, after PMQs.
She's on her feet at 12:30, so the Office for Budget Responsibility estimates the state pension will cost around $15.5 billion more per year by the end of this Parliament. So this morning we were asking, is paying higher taxes worth it to keep the triple lock on pensions? Now, the first thing I want to do, right, we've got 2 people to debate this. We have got David Maddox, Head of Campaigns for Popular Conservatism, Andrew Allison, and David is the political editor at The Independent. David or Andrew, whoever wants to take this one, what the heck is the triple lock? I love our journalists, we describe this in the triple lock, and people at home are scratching their head and think they don't know how to explain it. Would one of you care to explain to me why the triple lock is there, why it is important, what does it mean?
I can explain this one. So it was brought in by David Cameron's government back in 2010, and it was to guarantee that pensioners would get a proper rise in the state pension, either by the highest rate of, we have 2 rates of inflation, RPI or CPI, or 2.5%, whatever was the highest. And it's been in place ever since.
Okay. And Andrew, do you think it needs to be kept or do you think it needs to be scrapped?
I think it has to be scrapped because we simply can't afford it.
The question is, should we be raising taxes to do that? Well, we're already raising taxes, and people are already pretty skint in this country and can't afford to pay any tax. And around about 2 million pensioners are in poverty. I think that's about 15 or 16% of all pensioners. But there are many pensioners, of course, who are much more well off. Surely, if we want to help those people who are in poverty, shouldn't we just be targeting our resources at them rather than giving much larger rises to pensioners who don't really need it?
So you wouldn't agree with that, David?
No, I wouldn't. And I mean, there's two reasons for that. First of all, it's political suicide not to do the triple lock. I mean, this government's doing all sorts of deeply unpopular things for which it's sort of generally hated. Why shoot itself in the foot on one other thing? And frankly, actually, the whole idea of raising taxes is not really related to the triple lock. There are plenty of other things which could be and should be cut, like the welfare bill, paying people to stay at home, essentially, which seems like madness, and they're just not willing to do that. But the fair reason really is actually looking more into the future. You know, people under 50 do not have proper final salary pensions generally, unless they've worked in for the state. So most people do not have proper final salary pensions. We've got a whole wave of pensioner poverty coming down the line, and frankly, we have to have the state pension at a proper level to sort of offset some of that in the future.
Andrew, would it be political suicide for the triple lock to be scrapped?
Pensions could still be increased by average earnings. They could still be increased by the rate of inflation. But of course, if the rate of inflation is at 1%, pensions are still increasing by 2.5%, and that's why you get this inequality. And if inflation is raging like it was a few years ago, at 10% plus, yes, pensioners are protected and get those larger increases, whether they need it or not. But other people are struggling, and it creates that sort of inequality. But the triple lock is like many political policies. Once it's in, it's very difficult to remove. So I do take what David says, that it could well be for political suicide to try and remove it, unless you explain it properly. And of course, the benefits bill needs to be cut. We need to find around about 150 to 200 billion pounds worth of savings across the board just to balance the books and start paying off the debt.
So, David, I mean, basically, it's a political necessity then.
Yes, and quite frankly, I'm never sure of this argument of why should we put more people into poverty and make a cut, especially people who've worked hard all their lives. I'm sure a lot of your viewers will be pensioners who worked hard all their lives, who need a proper retirement and a proper pension. You know, as I said, there's plenty more that this government can do without really hitting the pockets of pensioners.
Well, we've got to put you two into retirement. Thank you very much indeed for arguing that and explaining it to us, David Maddox and Andrew Allison. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be talking about the commuter who dressed up as Batman to make rush hour better. We're going to be discussing that and much more in the papers of Norman and Claire.
Right after this short break, this is GB News on television, online, on your radio. See you after this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny skies for much of Spain on Thursday, not particularly warm, however. More wet weather to come for parts of Italy and some warm winds blowing across the Greek islands. Reasonably warm in the Canary Islands with a chance of 1 or 2 showers. Fine and sunny, as I said, over most of Spain, but it is on the cool side here. Cold winds bringing plenty of showers to Sardinia and Sicily. Some heavy rain heading to Athens, but the Greek islands further east staying dry and sunny. Santorini, though, seeing showers this weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I think a lot of you at home are going to be quite annoyed with this. Now, Tesco, the big supermarket chain, appears to have got rid of the famous Christmas trees, instead renaming them
Evergreen trees.
Evergreen
There's
trees.
the evergreen tree.
Here we are. So if you're listening on the radio, these are pictures of their boxes of artificial Christmas trees without the word Christmas on them at all, instead calling them evergreen trees. There are still a number of Christmas trees available called Christmas trees.
Christmas trees,
but I think it has clearly annoyed quite a lot of people. Why do you call them evergreen trees? Can't you just call them Christmas?
Just call them Christmas trees. I call them Christmas trees even outside of the time of Christmas. If they look like a Christmas tree, I call them a Christmas tree, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And the Conservative leader of the London Assembly, Susan Hall, she's told The Telegraph, it's Christmas. It's a Christmas tree. People don't tend to put up green plastic fir trees for any other reason. It's all stupid nonsense about offending other people and other religions. Well, below that, this is supposed to be a Christian country. We have Christmas. Let's celebrate it, says Susan Hall.
Actually, other religions are not offended by the celebration of Christmas in a Christian country. You speak to Hindus and Buddhists and the vast majority of Muslims, they're not in the slightest bit bothered and actually will join in those celebrations as well. It doesn't offend them. But what you've got are marketing divisions within these big companies where you've got Tarquin and Tabitha who feel that we must, you know, do what we can do to not offend the great British public. And the great British public are the ones that are actually buying the product and they're not in the slightest bit offended.
Can I just say it offends me that we've got Christmas already and it's not December.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
We are delighted to welcome back into the studio Norman Baker and Claire Muldoon again to review the papers and what's got them talking today on this budget day, Claire. And I just wondered how protective you are of your milkshakes because they're going to be taxed.
It's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it, that Rachel Reeves is introducing a tax that will not affect the big makers of money in this country, like your Starbucks, like your Costa, like every other coffee shop in the land, because this tax will only be on supermarket-bought milkshakes, pre-made coffees, etc. If you want a milkshake with your fries, you'll be taxed, and if you want a milkshake a coffee that from another vendor, any other coffee shop, you will not be taxed. And also the ultra-processed ones, the Gen Z favourite of all, oat milk, and all the other ultra-processed milks, they're not going to be taxed either.
So you're making a distinction here. You're saying, is she raising revenue? Is this an easy way to raise revenue that no one's going to complain about because they think this is good for your health?
Yep.
Oh, but you would prefer it to be directly and distinctly involved in being health-wise.
Yeah, I don't like the framing of it, that Wes Streeting has come out and said now that we are doing it to help childhood obesity, because he said the sugar tax has worked. Now, the sugar tax has worked. Unequivocally, it definitely has. But this milk tax is doing nothing for the health of the nation. Labour don't really care about your health. Labour don't really care about anything. All they care about is money and trying to grab it. Certainly not in your coffee.
Norman, what do you think?
Well, look, I mean, there are a couple of things here. First of all, the reason that Labour landed on this is because, rather foolishly, they've ruled out, very early before the last election, the big areas for taxes that you have to look at, VAT, income tax and national insurance. He ruled those out. And you shouldn't rule things out for 5 years. It's nonsensical if you're a Chancellor to do that. Anyway, so now they're scraping around trying to find different taxes on this, that and the other to try and make up the difference, which is a very bad way of organising the economy. Having said that, there is a case for looking at products which are unhealthy for you. The sugar tax has worked.
Yes, but
there's a great deal of sugar in milkshakes.
We're saying they're only looking at milkshakes.
Yes, I know. I agree with Claire. It's not allocated fairly, and a whole lot of people are being exempt. But there is a huge amount of sugar in, for example, you go into a fast food restaurant, you know, in a milkshake, it's very sugar heavy.
Yeah, but they're
fly across the board, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they're framing it. West Streeting is framing it to try and be a panacea against childhood obesity. It's not that. When do the parents step in? I mean, there's a sentence in one of the papers he gives, and he says, you know, we're giving free breakfasts, we're providing more free school lunches, we're taking X, Y, and Z away.
Why isn't that a parental responsibility?
That's what I was just about to say. That is definitely a parental responsibility,
and you're
not
to
the
feel bad if you object about that. But I mean, you know, I was from not a well-off family at all. I never went to school without a breakfast.
Yes.
That was my parents' responsibility.
Yes.
That's what they did. Nowadays, it's the state's responsibility to pay for breakfast. I think it's amazing.
It's infantilisation.
Advertising gets me. I mean, just looking at the front of the metro, if you can get close in on this. But basically, I would like to say to you, if you have ever seen a burger that looks like that, please do get in touch with me, because I have yet to see it. And you go to the back page, and as a connoisseur of a lot of these things, I can tell you that burger does not exist. That literally.
If you're listening on the radio, it is huge. Humongous, isn't it?
Humongous, and they all look voluptuous and lovely and full of niceness and everything.
And juicy.
But when you get it, and it's like, it's that thick, you know. Anyway, that's the way
let
it
us
is.
know.
Oh, but there's a good gift guide in the Metro today, actually. It's very, very good. I'm taking it home.
Claire, let's have a look at something totally different, shall we? The puberty blocker clinical trial that's taking place. Tell us a bit more about this.
So this is on the back of recommendations from the Cash Report of 2024, and it was I don't know why the focus of it is just on now, because it went under my radar. And there's a caveat in it, and she said that more research would have to be done before the prevention and the block of puberty blockers. So what have they done now with King's College University? They've got a sample group of 800 kids who, in my view, are not born in the wrong body. And the first rule of medicine is do no harm. And even the research scientists that want to roll out this platform, roll out this research, have actually said, well, we know there will be some damage done, but they're offsetting that with the mental damage and the emotional damage of a child presenting as trans. Let children be children. Safeguard children at all costs. Be who you want to be when you're 18, when you're an adult, in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of society, not before.
How long does being 18 last for, Norman? The Guardian has the story here today. The brain has 5 eras in it, and the adult mode doesn't start until the early 30s.
Yes. What it says is that rather than a sort of steady progression, your brain sort of changes at particular points in your life. So you've got phases of your life. So you change at 9 is the first point where your brain changes. Then it's 32 when adolescence finishes in terms of your brain, according to the study. Then you've got 66, which is where I've just got past. And then you've got 83. And then
what happens in 66? I'm asking for someone to know.
Asking for a friend.
You're asking for a personal reason. I'm afraid we start having less effective brains past 66 is what the consequence is. Some of the neural functions don't work as well, so it says here. Of course, Eamonn, there are exceptions, such as you and me, perhaps.
No, I know there's plenty of things going wrong, yeah.
But 32 is the strongest overall shift in trajectory, it says here. This is a study that's been carried out, I think Cambridge University have done
what
this.
What happens at 32, asking for a friend?
You end up becoming more of an adult than you were when you were 31, apparently.
That's good. I became an adult last week.
Yeah, I know.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm surprised they haven't, just made a discrepancy between male and female brains in this, because I don't think men ever grow up. I think the adult, wouldn't you? Maybe 66 is the way that men mature.
If they ever do.
Because your birthday's what, December the 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up, Eamonn.
But I agree with you about not growing up. I mean, people say, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday?
He wants a big burger from the Metro.
Men like toys. Yeah. They like by that I mean, remote control type things or models or whatever. They're more likely to be happier with things like that than they are with grown-up things.
Is that what's on your Christmas list?
What, Lego? Things like that?
No, but there is. I do have a toy on my Christmas list. Yeah.
What is it?
I think people when they're older, past 80, some of them actually return to childhood. They start doing things which you want to do when they were children, and also they have no inhibitions, and they feel they're able to behave as you want. Bump into the supermarket, say I'm 83, bump, move you out of the way.
You do what you like when you're 83. That's what I think.
Norman,
can you very quickly tell us about cups
it would
of
have to
coffee?
be very quickly.
Cups of coffee, yes. Well, cups of coffee, according to the study,
20 seconds.
Which was carried out on Norwegian people who had mental illness. I don't know how respected that is to everybody else here. An 11-year study says if you drink 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day, it slows ageing. But if you drink 5 or 6, you get older. So it's a difficult balance. Fine line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, it may be a lot of nonsense.
Guys, thank you very much indeed. See you again in 40 minutes' time. And with the time at 7:53, a weather update. Alex Deacon with that this morning.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off, at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again, tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers. Compared to this morning, many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Traffic conditions are challenging. The southbound A47 between Pontypridd and Nantgarv is heavily congested. Debris has closed all lanes on the A19 northbound entry slip from A689 in Stockton-on-Tees. An incident closed all lanes on the westbound entry slip at junction 2 of the M54. On the M25 clockwise entry slip at junction 3, a lane is closed due to a collision. Motorists should exercise caution and consider alternative routes. And on the trains, cross-country services between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst face disruptions, with northern services replaced by buses between Corkickle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Budget day today. Good morning to you. In just a few hours' time, the Chancellor will set out her plans for tax and spending. How will it affect you?
But with a £30 billion black hole in the public finances, question is, where will she raise the money needed to balance the books?
With families crippled by the cost of living and pensioners choosing between eating and heating, will tax and spending commitments make today put the country on a road to recovery or not?
Well, as always, we're going to bring you the very latest throughout the day from across the country, and we're going to hear how it's going to affect you.
How will it affect the farmers? They're on their way to London with or without their tractors. They will descend on Whitehall in protest at the government's decisions, which they say are crippling their industry.
Yeah, well, the Met Police has banned tractors from Whitehall, but still they are on their way into London. Going to be driving slowly on the streets of the capital, as farmers say it's crucial the government hear their voices.
Meanwhile, millions of workers are set to get a pay rise as Rachel Reeves plans to increase the minimum wage. But could it actually threaten to push more young people out of work?
A deadline, you know what the deadline for me is? When it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing.
President Trump backing away from tomorrow's deadline for the Ukraine peace plan. It comes as Keir Starmer demands British boots on the ground under that peace deal. But will it ever happen?
And sport this morning, Chelsea thrashed Barcelona 3-0 while Manchester City and Newcastle lose. Tonight, Spurs play last year's winners PSG in Paris. Liverpool play PSV, and arguably the two best sides in Europe. Arsenal take on Harry Kane's Bayern Munich.
A cold and frosty start for many, a milder but wetter start for some. It's going to turn milder for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later for a full forecast.
Hello there on this Wednesday morning. Good to have you on board. We are online, we are on your television, and we're also on your radio. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So here we are. It is a Wednesday. It's also budget day, and the Chancellor is set to deliver her tax-raising budget as she pledges to push ahead with the biggest drive for growth, she says, in a generation.
Well, let's take a listen to her preview the budget, where she claims Labour will deliver on their promise of change.
Today, I'm going to take the fair and the necessary choices to deliver on our promise of change. I'm not going to return Britain back to austerity, nor will I lose control of public spending, more reckless borrowing. I will take action to help families with the cost of living. We've already frozen rail fares, begun rolling out free breakfast clubs, and we've raised the national living wage for millions of working people. And today I will go further. I will take action to cut hospital waiting lists by protecting record investment in our NHS and tackling waste in the public sector so that your money goes towards frontline services.
There may well be what is called a dirty dozen of tax rises, which could hit middle-class families as Labour expands that whole welfare state situation. The question is, just how big can you make the NHS and how all-consuming should it be?
Well, rumours of an income tax rise have been quashed as the Chancellor now looks to freeze tax thresholds for 2 more years in order to bridge the £30 billion gap in the public finances.
Well, let's speak to business and finance broadcaster Mr Michael Wilson this morning on this one. Well, Michael, how are you viewing what's going to come at lunchtime today?
I'm not really important. I think the kind of people I've been talking to for the past 2 or 3 weeks are leading businessmen and businesswomen who basically are holding their heads in their hands and wondering who actually is running the country. The Chancellor's job is one of the most important, I would say, one of the most important jobs in government. And we are, by and large, a relatively great nation. But I think business has found different kites being flown, whether it be income tax or where the raises are actually going to come, very, very disruptive indeed. Years ago, there used to be this thing called purdah, which meant that the Chancellor just did not talk for a month. So and revealed to the government the day before the budget, and no doubt some pretty big discussions took place then. But this kind of different ideas that are flying around all over the place is just disruptive, and it doesn't necessarily make the UK a good place for people to look forward to and to come and invest. That is the real difficulty. I don't think that the actual measures, I mean, you've mentioned a lot of them about freezing tax thresholds, higher taxes on properties worth over maybe £2 million, pay per mile on electric vehicles and so on, increase in dividend tax, all these things. This word smorgasbord, which has suddenly come into it's like a little buffet. You know, you can take a bit here and take a bit there, and it sounds very attractive. It's not at all. I think this is going to be some cumulative, fairly bad news, and I think the majority of middle classes in this country will be a lot worse off than they are right now.
And I'll tell you how they will be a lot worse off, Michael. I mean, you talk about that smorgasbord, and you know how it's not really going to affect you and you and you, but it will affect you and you and you. And I'm looking here, things like that hotel, nights away. Yeah, you go to hotels and apparently you're going to be taxed more for doing that. Alcohol's going to be taxed more, sugar taxed more, milkshakes, all this sort of thing. The idea that it's only going to affect those, I quote, with the broadest shoulders, is a nonsense.
Yeah, I think so. I think the way to look at it is like this: if you work for a private company, not in the public services, if you work for a private company, you are trying to do better for yourself. You're trying to create wealth. You're not trying to become super rich. Very few people do. But wealth just means, in this country, means having a roof over your head and looking after your kids and looking after your family and not worrying too much about the massive rises that there are in food inflation, particularly. Isn't it weird that the first female chancellor, I still believe that women are very good at handling money, very good at economising for the family, and yet here we have somebody, I don't know who's running the country right now. Is it the bond markets? Is it the Office for Budget Responsibility? Is it the Prime Minister? Is it the Chancellor? I just don't know. And I think, and even though talking about the bond markets is very boring and very, very technical, the very, very simple way to look at that is that's the kindness of strangers. They lend the country money to exist, and if they don't feel the country's actually going anywhere, then they'll cease to lend the money, or interest rates will rise, and that hurts everybody.
OK, that's a really important question. Michael Wilson, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael.
Pleasure.
We'll leave it there. Farmers heading to Whitehall today, and we are with them.
We certainly are, yes. They are protesting the government's tax decision. Our national reporter, Will Godley, is on a tractor right now, heading into London. How are the farmers feeling? Well, because the tractors have been banned from outside Whitehall, haven't they?
Yes, certainly have been banned, and that decision was one that made them very, very angry last night. Ellie, Eamonn, good morning to you. We're currently about 6 miles or so out from central London, making our way in during the London rush hour this morning. And Douglas Turner is driving us. Douglas, we've already had police show up at your farm this morning. Are you worried about a further police presence as you drive around London today?
I'm sure there will be police presence, but of course they've told us we cannot drive into Whitehall with our tractors. Therefore, we shall not drive into Whitehall with our tractors. There are many other roads that we can go on, but we feel we have to have our presence up there today because it's budget day, and Rachel Reeves needs to realise she's either got to stop with the family farm tax, mend it to 7 million at least, or have it that family farms are exempt from it, and the corporate farms that are taking it for the wrong reasons do have to pay.
And Douglas, when we heard the news that tractors were banned from Whitehall yesterday, the organisers of that protest described it as a malicious attempt to curb their freedom of speech. How do you feel about this policing decision?
We were gutted. We thought it was two-tier policing because we've been up there many times before. The last time we were up there, we had over 1,000 tractors. We were very well behaved. We got very good feedback on our activities up there by the police. And when they say that it's going to cause problems and things, well, we've done it before and it didn't, and it won't do again. If it was the first time ever we'd done it, I could understand them stating that. But the team that put it all together, we ticked all the boxes, crossed the T's, dotted the I's, they said OK, and then someone from above told them at the Met, you've got to stop this.
And Douglas, it's budget day today. Rachel Reeves will be announcing the decisions she's making. What do you hope that will mean for farmers?
Well, we'd like it to mean something beneficial. You know, they say there's food inflation. We're actually receiving less money for food at the farm gate than we've ever done before. The only reason there is food inflation is because of the energy costs. We have these people with their net zero ideas of why we should have wind power, solar power, but if we have too much solar power, we have no land then for growing food, and you can't eat solar panels.
Certainly can't. Douglas, thanks very much for joining us on GB News. We are currently about an hour or so away from central London, already outside Westminster and Whitehall. Hundreds of farmers gathering there, already on foot, as certain stunts due to take place throughout the day today, as they want Rachel Reeves to listen to their message of doing a U-turn.
Just losing Will there. The thing is, the tractors have only been banned in the Westminster area.
Yeah, just outside Whitehall, yeah.
Yeah. So they could be elsewhere and create the disruption that they wanted to or whatever. Yeah. When I was just saying, if they take 50 tractors and they drive to the House of Commons and park them around there, whatever it is, who's going to do anything about it? Who would dare do anything about it, what would the optics of that look like? How bad would that appear to go in and arrest farmers or take away their tractors, which they use for their livelihoods and their livings, which are being compromised enough already? Interesting one.
Well, we were talking to Richard Fuller earlier, weren't we, the Conservative MP, and he was saying that there are already 2 tractors on the outskirts of Whitehall, and they were talking to police officers and actually using the opportunity to, because we know that the farmers are a peaceful bunch, aren't they? They're just talking to the public about why they're there.
Yeah.
So perhaps we'll see them kind of attend around the periphery of Whitehall. We'll have to see.
Yeah, interesting. 12 minutes now past 8 o'clock. Hello, good morning to you. Just ask your speaker to play GB News on television, on radio, online.
Yeah, so many of you getting in touch with us this morning. Thank you so much. Mary says, tractors should not be banned from Whitehall today. The government have ordered this so that they don't see it when Rachel Reeves is delivering her budget. I think it's disgraceful. This was the decision made by the Metropolitan Police about 3:30, we believe, yesterday afternoon. So tractors farmers had decided to bring down their tractors way before. And as Will Godley was just reporting there, they're still coming down to London. They're just not going to be outside Whitehall. Joe says, how do you cut Christmas spending if you don't have the money to spend in the first place? And Rod says, how come they've stopped the farmers in Westminster but allowed the cowboys into Parliament? Do keep those views coming in.
And it won't feel good coming up to Christmas, new taxes and, further squeeze on people's income.
The timing is really difficult for people, it really is. Well, there's a new way to get in touch with us, isn't there?
Yes, friends of GB News. If you're a friend of GB News, you can vote in today's You Decide poll. You scan the QR code, which is popped up on your screen there. And the question is...
Have you already cut your Christmas spending ahead of the budget? So let us know. Have you cut back ahead of Christmas in light of this budget, yes or no?
The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, that's Darren Jones, joins us now. Oh, he's not ready yet. I lied. OK, I lied. He's not there. He's not there. We'll go to the weather. We'll have a look at the weather situation. And it was a... Do we not...
Oh, we don't have the weather. So we'll do some views for you instead. Lots of them coming in.
Good luck.
Pamela says, I fully support the farmers. I hope they make a very loud protest outside Parliament today when Rachel Reeves is delivering her budget. There's talk about other people supporting them, saying they should block the roads around London today. John's been in touch saying that Rachel Reeves is giving with one hand in terms of welfare, but is taking with two. And Dave, talking about the timing of all of this, I mean, bearing in mind we are just a month out from Christmas, saying today the Christmas Grinch really does make her move.
You see, here's something... no, not bother going into it, because we have got Darren Jones now. Darren is the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Good to see you there, Darren. We wonder what we were going to do without you.
Oh, well, all is well in the world. I'm here and ready to go.
OK. Do you think all is well and ready in the world? What effect, how are you viewing this budget, and what are you hoping it will do?
Well, look, I obviously can't say what's going to be in the budget this afternoon.
No, I didn't ask you that.
We're coming into budget day today.
You're going to stop me there, Darren. Sorry, I know you can't say this, but I am fed up of leaked stories coming from your end about what is in the budget, and the Chancellor going on and releasing a YouTube video last night telling us more and more. Who are those idiots behind you making all that noise as well? Chaos this morning. But, all this business, you can't speculate as if we asked you. I didn't ask you, number one. Number two is, you're telling us anyway. It's been leaked.
Yeah, look, there have been a couple of leaks which have been totally unacceptable and not very helpful. I mean, there's no denying that. But also there's been a lot of speculation from the media and commentators. Sadly, I can't tell them what to write and not to write. It'd be great if I could. But look, the good news is today's budget day. The Chancellor will deliver the budget and then we can stop speculating about it.
Your approval rating is at 13% this government, and Rachel Reeves, the most unpopular Chancellor on record. Sir Keir Starmer, the most unpopular Prime Minister on record. Rumours swirling throughout the papers and throughout Whitehall that Labour MPs want to oust them both. Today, on Budget Day, do you have full confidence in the Chancellor, and do you have full confidence in the Prime Minister?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. There's a lot of chitter-chatter here and there. That's normal in Westminster. But the Prime Minister and the Chancellor are absolutely focused on getting on with the job, on delivering of the promise of change, and also with this budget in particular, having the cost of living challenges that many families are facing first and foremost in their mind, which is why when you see the Chancellor stand up in Parliament later today, we're going to be taking action to support people with the cost of living pressures, in line with things we've already done as well, on freezing rail fares, prescription charges, funding kids' breakfasts at school, childcare, school-based nurseries, those types of things, whilst also honouring our commitment to invest in the NHS and make sure it's there for people when they need it.
Alcohol, sugar, nights away at hotels, even your latte coffee will go up, the predictions are. So it's always like you think, I can understand why you want to relieve things, but then why the need to increase the price on everything as well?
Well, we have a broad view around trying to make sure that inflation is coming down. That's really important, which is why when we make decisions to freeze prices, we do so to help people immediately, but also to try to take out some of the inflationary pressure that's still in the economy. I think you were referring to the announcement yesterday from the Health Secretary about the sugar tax in our in our drinks. That's predominantly a health measure. As the Health Secretary said yesterday, we want to raise as little money as possible from those things.
It's not a health measure. It's not a health measure.
Healthier.
You're taxing processed, packed bottles in supermarkets, but you're not taxing the same sort of drinks that are available in cafes and whatever with this massive sugar content. And so how can you pretend then that it is a health measure?
Well, look, it's just because we know that diabetes, for example, obesity, some of these chronic diseases are massive challenges for people and for the NHS and for the economy. And so it's one measure alongside other measures to make sure that food manufacturers are producing their produce in as healthy a way as possible. Now, we're not a nanny state. We're not going to tell you what you can do with your life. So you always have choices to eat a load of sugar if you want to. But of course, we want to make sure that we're supporting people if they maybe are not fully informed about what they're choosing to eat or drink, to make sure that there are healthy products on our shelves.
Why have tractors been banned from Whitehall today? GB News has been covering the farmers who are heading down to London today to protest outside Whitehall, or were planning to anyway, in their tractors before they were told at 3:30 yesterday that they would be banned from doing so in their tractors. Neil O'Brien and a number of Conservative MPs are pointing to the fact that Palestinian protesters who had gathered to chant outside a synagogue on Sunday were told by the Metropolitan Police there was no legal mechanism to ban that protest, but they somehow do have the power to ban farmers and their tractors protesting today. Is this an example of two-tier policing?
No. We're updating the laws to be able to make sure the police have the powers to deal with cumulative and repetitive disruptive protests wherever they are in the country. I'm not entirely across the detail of what's been decided here today, but my guess would be that they need to keep the road between Downing Street and Parliament clear, because of course you'll know the Chancellor comes out of number 11 and then needs to get to Parliament pretty quickly in order to deliver her budget statement. So it may be just a logistical thing as opposed to a protest-based thing.
Elsewhere, can I ask you about these plans to scrap jury trials for most crimes? We've been talking about it this morning. Many people commenting that they are scared about this as a suggestion, that juries would only decide now on cases of murder, rape and manslaughter. I mean, it was laid out in the Magna Carta in 1215, the importance that no man shall be seized or imprisoned except by the lawful judgment of his equals. Isn't it imperative that we keep this as a pillar of our democracy?
Yes. I mean, the first thing to say is the government hasn't made a decision one way or the other. I think there's been a leak of some policy suggestions about how we deal with the backlog in the justice system. There's around 80,000 people. Yes, and that's not acceptable. I mean, I acknowledge that. There's about 80,000 people waiting for a trial. That's important because criminals need to be sent to prison or be given punishment if they've broken the law. Innocent people need to be able to prove their innocence, and victims need to be reassured that the criminal justice system will bring them justice. And at the moment, there are too many people waiting. So it's right that the Ministry of Justice is looking at how we tackle those backlogs. And look, you're right, the Magna Carta produces those pretty fundamental constitutional principles principles about a right to a fair trial, but also a timely trial in the Magna Carta as well. We can't have people waiting for years and years before justice is served or their innocence is proven. So, as I say, the government hasn't made a decision one way or the other at the moment, but it's right that they're looking at how they fix the backlog that we've inherited from the last government.
Darren Jones,
Okay.
we're out of time.
Thanks, Darren. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you next time.
And
Thanks so
thank
much.
you very much. And apologies if there was some foul language of those protesters behind Darren
Was there?
Jones. I think there may have been. So if you did pick up on
Nobody
that, we do
told me.
apologise.
I didn't hear it. Did you hear it?
There was a little, yeah.
Oh.
Hopefully you didn't hear it at home, but if you
What did they
did,
say?
we apologise. I'll tell you in the break. Actually, I'll tell you whilst we're looking at the weather with Alex Deacon.
Okay.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off, at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again, tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers. Compared to this morning, many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The new guidelines instruct visa officers to reject applicants who may be eligible for public benefits as part of the president's hardline crackdown on immigration, all to prevent people becoming dependent on those public benefits and draining the US resources.
So with an increasing obesity problem in the UK, should the UK follow Trump and ban visas for fat people?
Well, joining us now is the body positivity influencer and actor George Keywood and the former presenter of Fat Families, Steve Miller. Steve, I think I might know what you think about this one. Let's kick off with you.
Well, I think this is great. I think this is Trump using common sense. This is Trump putting his country first. And wouldn't that be a breath of fresh air if we had it in the UK? Of course, you know, by encouraging people that are too fat and have already got medical conditions, serious medical conditions, coming into your country, what I'm saying is, it is a common sense factor, because the likelihood is that they're going to cost your country a lot of money. And let's face it, the taxpayer is already under stress. The NHS is knackered. And do you know how much it costs per year to look after someone with diabetes? It costs up to £3,000 a year. So no, we're bust. We can't afford it. So Trump's policy is something absolutely we should adopt. It's common sense, and I think most British people would agree.
George Keywood, what do you think? Is he being unfair?
Well, I'm British and I completely disagree. It's absolute nonsense, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, Jesus Christ. Are we getting to the point where we're saying that fat people can't go in a country? I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous. And it's something that I expect for somebody like that to say.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News. Welcome back to Breakfast. The time is 8:27. We're looking ahead to the budget and the Chancellor being on her feet at lunchtime around 12:30 this afternoon. Our Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, is out and about gauging the anticipation ahead of the budget today. And you were in Easington this morning, aren't you, Tom, which was a safe Labour seat. And now a great deal of support for reform. Tell us more.
That's right, I'm up here in County Durham, which of course used to be one of the industrial heartlands of the United Kingdom. But over, of course, recent decades, the industry has gone, the area has become so much poorer than it once was. So I've come to the house of one man who has chronicled the industrial decline of this area. I'm going to speak to Pip Fallow, who's the author of Dragged Up Proper. Pip, hello, Tom. Nice to see you. How's it going?
Hello. Yes, good to see you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much. Should we just come in through here?
Yes, come this way.
Grand. Well, obviously today is a big day. It's parts of the country like where we are that are really going to be listening out for what the Chancellor has to say. What would you like to hear?
Well, these are the deindustrialised zones we've laid idle for 40 years now. The budget, I don't mean to be gloomy about it, but there's a very big sense of people are not being listened to. I think that people up here just think that they'll get what they're given. You know, they didn't want the coal industry to shut, they didn't want the pits to shut, they didn't want the steelworks to go. They have no say. There's a big feeling they've got no say, and there's a lot of apathy comes with that. Is budget day big up here? I would have to say no. People's just going to take it on the chin wherever they get.
Now, of course, in your book, Dragged Up Proper, you talk about the industrial decline of this area, the areas that used to be producing so much wealth for this country, the areas around here that used to be the areas that would generate the money that the Chancellor would spend. And now these are the areas that are sadly in receipt of so much benefit.
They're costing. Yeah. Don't want to be a draw on the system. You know, they want to contribute. But you have to lay that platform out. You know, it needs dragging back to basics. I know the budget's going to tweak, you know, sugar tax. And people up here have got bigger problems to worry about than a bit of sugar tax, £2 here and £1 there being tweaked here and tweaked there. I think we have to draw it back to fundamentals, you know. This country is, it's not earning money. It's losing. It's like a spoiled student. It's just, you know, we spend more. This country's spending more than it's making. You know, this country needs to get itself a Saturday job, and in order for it to get itself a Saturday job, it needs that template putting down there where people can go out and you know, get themselves involved in earning for the country, earn for themselves individually, earn for the community, and earn ultimately for the country. And put something back. These people don't want to lie idle. It's a workforce waiting to go. Yeah. But we need that template. We need encouragement. You know, the government needs to look, you know, at what we import. You know, aluminium, steel, everything like that. And let us do it. Let us do it.
In this country. Well, Pip, thanks so much for talking through what what hopefully will be a significant day for places in the country like where we are now. But Ellie, I suppose the proof will be in what the Chancellor says in a few hours' time.
Certainly will be. Tom, thank you very much for bringing that to us from County Durham.
Now, if you're out and about this morning, tractors aside, here's how the traffic's moving.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists face congestion on the M4 eastbound at junction 33, Capel-Lanil turn, causing significant delays during peak hours. The A19 northbound entry slip from the A1689 in Stockton-on-Tees is closed due to debris, with normal conditions expected by 9:25 a.m. In Warrington, the M6 southbound at junction 21A has a lane closure in effect. A collision on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 26 and 25 is causing 10-minute delays. And on the trains, cross-country services between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst face disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Busy day. Politicians popping up all the time, including Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning from a very chilly Victoria Gardens. I've got my gloves on, it's freezing, and I think that's the shivering mood of the nation, frankly.
But what's the difference? The question is, my friend, there is some sunlight in the background, so people could think, oh, maybe there's good times on the way. But what is the difference between Reform UK and Labour when it comes to tax and spend?
Very simply, we've got to cut wasteful, unproductive government spending. We've got to cut daft regulations which disincentivise people to work hard and to take risk and to be entrepreneurial, setting up small businesses up and down the country. And if you do that, then you create growth. And if you create growth, then you can have performance-related tax cuts. This government believes the opposite. They believe that the state is the best way of spending money. It's that sort of hard socialist view of life. And that goes fine until you run out of other people's money. And that's what's happening at the moment. We've borrowed, just remind you, just under £120 billion in the first 7 months of this year. And the Chancellor is in serious trouble. And this is going to be a inflation rising, tax rising, job destroying nightmare for people to dread, frankly.
How do we create wealth? How do we make Britain an attractive place for people to invest?
It's very simple. It's actually basic stuff. You make work pay by giving people an incentive to work. Instead, they're going to freeze the tax thresholds, the income tax starting point threshold. And then you create an incentive for people to take risk, to go out and spend their money on creating a business, a small business, employing people. If you impose too many employment regulations, then people won't employ people. If you lift the minimum wage, which it looks like they're doing for youngsters, by too high a percentage, by over double the rate of inflation, don't be surprised if businesses start to not employ young people, and that's an absolute tragedy. I've just heard at the beginning of this week from major recruitment firms up and down the country, and businesses they're literally freezing new employments, particularly of temporary workers and young workers. This is an absolute tragedy imposed by a government that has not a clue what they're doing. They're essentially driving our economy in some sort of nightmare multi-car pile-up over the cliff.
And impacts of business. What does Reform UK make of the boost to the national living wage and the minimum wage? I mean, fantastic if you're in receipt of that pay boost, I'm sure. But what consequences do you think this would have for business?
The consequence is, as I'm saying, if you increase the minimum wage too high, don't be surprised if businesses say, I can't afford it, and therefore I'm going to employ no one. And that doesn't help anybody. That means that actually that young person looking for their first or second job out of school or out of college doesn't get a job. It means they're on benefits. And then the danger is they get trapped on benefits, and that's a cost to the state, not a benefit to the state. So what the governments should do is incentivise individuals to work by making work pay, and they should incentivise entrepreneurs, small business owners, to take more risks, to work harder, set the alarm clock a little bit earlier. That's how you create entrepreneurial enthusiasm, excitement. That creates growth, And that's what the nation understands and wants. But instead, no, it's doom and gloom. The state knows best. Nanny Rachel knows best. And it's taking us in completely the wrong direction. Borrowing's out of control, spending's out of control, and growth is flatlining.
But Richard, why didn't Nanny understand from the last budget that the national insurance increases greatly impinged on employment and who employers would actually hire?
Because she told us she was an economist. It turns out, actually, she's Rachel from complaints. That's the simple reality.
Okay.
Can we ask you about something totally different? Front page of the Daily Telegraph today saying that David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is set to scrap jury trials for most crimes, apart from murder, rape and manslaughter. What do you make of that as a plan?
Well, look, there is a crisis in the criminal justice system where the backlog of cases is now many years, and that's a disaster for everybody, particularly the victims. So, look, something's got to be done. We'll have to see the detail of what is being proposed. Ultimately, we've got to make sure that common sense applies, but also that actually proper justice applies. And, let's remember, people are innocent until proven guilty. But if it's a matter of continuous improvement or a temporary adjustment to get over the backlog, then let's look at the detail.
Richard Tice, stay warm. Thanks for your time today and your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be going through the papers with Norman Baker and Claire Muldoon. This is GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the cars.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Just in time to tell you about our festive giveaway. It's a goodie, isn't it?
Because it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas, as the song says. And it's less than a month. It's the 20... Today, a month from now, will be Boxing Day.
Exactly that. Here are all of the details that you need.
There's just 29 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
That's the nice news from us. The other news now from Claire Muldoon and Norman Baker as they go through the newspapers this morning. The Daily Mail talking about a cash crisis could see 50 universities shut by 2028. Do we have 50 universities?
Well, exactly.
Do we?
In my view, university is Russell Group and Oxbridge. End of, right?
Well, maybe the rest, back to that.
The rest of these 50 other universities are not university status. They were brought in the Blair era, where every single person had the right to go to a tertiary educational provider, which is utter codswallop. Because look what's happened. We do not have vocational training anymore. Get rid of all these universities, turn them back into technical colleges, make the attainments there.
Look at the mess that has placed the country in. There's no butchers, bakers, candlestick makers anymore, or those areas. They find, it's incredibly difficult to hire a dental nurse, for instance, or something like that.
Get an electrician.
And you think, and Blair, this mantra of education, education, education. And I personally would stand back and, through my whole experience in life, say, nonsense. I didn't have third-level education, and it didn't do me any harm.
It's not for everyone. And we are now seeing the actual, the exponential result of this, because there aren't any graduate jobs now for kids. London is far too expensive for them to live in. All the big milk round companies are not recruiting the same way they were. So you've now got an absolute gluck overestimation of graduates.
So why could these close then, these universities?
Because they're running at a loss. The Office of Students are saying they're running at a loss. They don't have enough money in their coffers to pay for lecturers, to pay for anything else, and now students are being let down. We knew this would happen. We absolutely did. And you were home in Belfast a couple of weeks ago, and you said the number of student accommodation was taking over. It's the same in Glasgow.
I don't think you could bump into a house. You could get a house. The student accommodation is absolutely scarily massive.
And do you know why that
Belfast.
is? It's not because of an increase in university places. It's an increase in international students that are actually funding, that are actually the building blocks, to use a Labourism, building the foundations of the coffers of these universities.
Universities rely on them, don't they?
Well, they clearly do.
Norman, what do you think?
Well, I mean, there is a problem. There are too many students at universities, is my view. I mean, I think there needs to be an assumption that universities isn't always the right place for somebody. And I'm very sad that we lost, I think it's before Blair, to be fair, the polytechnics back in the 1990s, which actually have now been undervalued. I mean, if you look at France, for example, they value a plumber, they value an electrician as someone who's a skilled operative who is able to do something which you can't do yourself. And we've lost that respect, I think, for those sorts of jobs.
Because it was shifted, the aspiration was shifted onto university education and the price of a degree. But they've been completely... I'm going to cover something else later on in the paper review about degree degrees of weirdness.
Well, let's go there, shall we?
Sorry. What do you mean by degrees of weirdness?
You go to University of Liverpool and you get a degree on, you know, the impact the Beatles have had in the local economy. There's Taylor Swift.
What a waste of time.
Exactly. It's almost like underwater basket weaving, and we wonder why we're losing money.
Everybody hold that thought. We'll be back after the break to talk more about that.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny skies for much of Spain on Thursday, not particularly warm, however. More wet weather to come for parts of Italy and some warm winds blowing across the Greek islands. Reasonably warm in the Canary Islands with a chance of 1 or 2 showers. Fine and sunny, as I said, over most of Spain, but it is on the cool side here. Cold winds bringing plenty of showers to Sardinia and Sicily. Some heavy rain heading to Athens, but the Greek islands further east staying dry and sunny. Santorini, though, seeing showers this weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Tell you what, we've got a story about potholes now that is just, ridiculous. Fed up residents in a quiet cul-de-sac in Banbury in Oxfordshire say they've been abandoned after being told that it could take 103 years to have their pothole-riddled road resurfaced. 103 years.
I could not believe it. Absolutely farcical. Anyway, the locals on Horsham Close say some of the potholes are like craters, adding it's yet another sign of Britain's crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah, we're going to speak now to pothole campaigner Mark Morell, often known as just Mr. Pothole. I say just Mr. Pothole. My goodness.
Yeah, it's terrible. They've used the figure from the alarm survey. That's a survey, a report that shows just how bad our roads are, and used an average figure. How naive or stupid, really, to actually put a figure in there rather than say it'd be done as and when. You know, I know the particular road. Because the main road, Sussex Drive, that it comes off of, I campaigned some years ago, got it resurfaced. Last year, I actually used some AI as a free app called Stand the App and drove around the 34 miles of Banbury on the main routes and identified 1,500 severe defects on their main routes. So the side roads, a number of those cul-de-sacs are well outside their life. If you look at the average road, it lasts about 20 to 25 years. And in the same report, in 15 years' time, 52% of all the country's roads will be structurally unsound, and therefore we've got a major problem coming up. And it just reflects the attitude, really, from politicians and authorities that we have to accept to manage decline.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
We're back going through the papers with Norman and Claire. And Norman, you want to talk about Putin's dictionary?
I do. You might think a dictionary is a neutral publication that just tells you the facts and defines words, but not in Russia, because under a presidential decree from President Putin 2022, we've now got an explanatory dictionary of the state language of the Russian Federation, which has got some interesting definitions. For example, if you want to know what authoritarianism is, which you might think is a bad idea, it is, in fact, quote, the most effective primitive form of governance in difficult times for a country, whereas democracy is state institutions act in the interest of the most influential people. And the head of St. Petersburg University, who's clearly a patsy, says that the dictionary helps passing on our values and traditions to future generations. I mean, I think this is sinister.
It is.
I wonder if it's on anyone's Christmas list.
I hope not.
So, a quick word about Christmas and who's responsible for it, Ellie.
Yes, because this is in the Daily Mail today, Claire. It's mothers who make the festive season so special.
Well, it is. Because mothers have got the heart of the home. They are head of the domestic church. It's domestic bliss at home with mothers, and they are the ones that put everything together. More, I would say.
What do you mean make the meal on Christmas Day?
Not necessarily. It's getting the whole home ready for Christmas. It's getting the ideals. It's getting the Santa list to send to Santa from the children.
And men don't
it's
do
the
this.
Stockings. I'm not sure if they do, but if women will be the whole experience would be lacking if it was left to men, because they don't mature, as we've just discussed in the previous.
Please rule me out as
until
being
66.
one of those men. I think of myself as Santa, basically.
Do you? Do you?
Yes, why do you look so discerning?
I thought it would be bah humbug with
Dad
you.
was brilliant at Christmas.
It's not all about you, Eamonn.
But it's not all about mothers either.
Oh well,
I do think women make the magic,
you're right.
though.
I think it is all about mothers, and without the mothers in the home, there'd be a sad miss.
Well done to all of those mothers, but they're not exclusive. Is my point. I don't think they're exclusive. I think you can turn around and say, men, you do nothing about Christmas.
I don't think that was the headline, and I certainly don't think that's what I'm saying.
Forget Father Christmas. It's mothers who make the festive season so special.
I think women take on the thinking for everyone in the house, don't they? So they think about what the children want. They get them to write their letters to Father
Well, that's
Christmas.
what I've just said. It's the emotional intelligence.
Oh, my
And the headline was Father Christmas.
It's all about extra work and all of those extra thoughts.
Well, there's an inventiveness about certain... Well, I'll
And a
speak for myself. Who you actually sit and say, what would be very good? What would be good for Santa to bring them? Yes.
Yeah. What's Santa bringing you?
What?
Scrooge.
Scrooge.
Can I just be diplomatic and say that both mothers and fathers contribute towards it?
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair. If it's not, it should be. Now, give us a degree in something awful, a degree of weirdness, Claire.
Yeah, a degree in Father Christmas. No, well, I mean, we were talking about universities, which are colleges, which should never be university status, losing money. And is there any wonder when we've got degrees from Harvard, no less, on Taylor Swift?
That's not right.
Bags of tricks in the Royal Conservatoire that used to be the RSAMD in Glasgow. You can actually learn to play bagpipes, which offers a degree in traditional Scottish bagpiping. This is ridiculous. Beatlemania was the one that I alluded to earlier from the University of Liverpool, a 2-year master's degree in the band. Surf's Up from the Beach Boys, that's at University College Cornwall. The truth is out there. Wannabe ufologists can enrol in the Florida Institute of Technology in the US for a degree in astrobiology, the science of alien life. Well, I don't think we have to go that far. All we have to do is partake in the budget today at 12 and we'll see alien life there.
Oh, no. Norman, what do you think of these degrees?
Well, I mean, a lot of the nonsense, but I will defend the Beatles one because it's not simply about Beatles music, it's also about the culture and the impact they've had on society, and I think that's an interesting study.
It's not very original, though, is it?
Well, it will be.
Claire, we're out of time with you both. Thank you very much. Here's your weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers compared to this morning. Many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists on the M18 northbound near Rotherham face 20-minute delays due to a collision between junctions 1 and 2. The M6 southbound near Warrington has a lane closed at junction 21A due to a broken down vehicle. M54 eastbound in Staffordshire reports 40-minute delays. In Norfolk, the A11 southbound may see 15-minute delays between the A47 and A.075. The M27 westbound in Hampshire is partially blocked by a broken vehicle, and on the trains expect disruptions between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst and disturbances on the Elizabeth line between Slough and Reading. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good morning, it's budget day. In just a matter of hours, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, will set out her plans for tax and spending.
We reckon that's going to be about 12.30, but with a £30 billion black hole in finances, where's she going to raise that money needed to balance the books?
Well, with families crippled by the cost of living and pensioners choosing whether to eat or heat their homes, will the tax and spending commitments made today put the country on a road to recovery or lead us into economic disaster?
We're going to be bringing you the very latest throughout the day until 9:30 when we're here, and then the whole of the station for the rest of the day. So, how will it hit you?
Well, it's going to hit farmers who are descending on Whitehall in protest of the government's decisions, which say they are crippling the industry.
Well, tractors are banned from Whitehall, but there will still be hundreds seen in central London. I'm on a tractor here in the capital today as farmers ensure their voices are still heard, urging Rachel Reeves to do a U-turn on the family farm tax.
And we're here in County Durham, which used to, of course, be an industrial heartland of this country. But since then, the industry has gone, the jobs have gone. What can the Chancellor say to forgotten communities like these?
Here in Lichfield, we are in the centre of England. This is as middle England as it gets. We'll be speaking to people and businesses here, and in a freezing cold city, they'll be hoping this budget doesn't leave them out in the cold.
Millions of workers are set to get a pay rise as Rachel Reeves plans to increase the minimum wage. But could it actually threaten to push more young people out of work?
A deadline, you know what the deadline for me is? When it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing too many people.
President Trump there backing away from his deadline tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day, for a Ukraine peace plan.
Well, it comes as Keir Starmer demands British boots on the ground as part of a peacekeeping mission.
A cold and frosty start for many, a milder but wetter start for some. It's going to turn milder for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later for a full forecast.
And join us now until 9:30. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. So many of you getting in touch today, so many of you giving full support to the farmers, saying you are right behind them today and they hope they make their voices heard in Westminster. On minimum wage, Rebecca has been in touch saying minimum wage is not just given to young people, it's also given to people in their 50s and 60s who are working in physically demanding jobs, which is a very good point. And those people who are in receipt of those higher wages will be very grateful for them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But businesses, it is an additional cost, isn't it? And actually, the Resolution Foundation, which is a left-leaning think tank, they're saying, actually, this is going to have the opposite effect, and they're just not going to hire young people because they've got too expensive.
Rod makes a very interesting observation. He says, how come they've stopped the farmers going to Westminster, but they've allowed cowboys into Parliament? Good point.
Yeah, and Jay says, we're all doomed, like a famous rom-com actor once said.
You know what programme that's from?
No.
We're doomed, we're all doomed.
Oh, where's that from? I don't know.
Dad's Army.
Oh, Dad's Army. Oh, there you go.
What was it? The Scottish guy.
Oh.
Very funny.
And finally, one from Joanna who says, two-tier policing, they've stopped the farmers and their peaceful protest today. Next, they're going to arrest them and trial them without jury, and then our future really will be sealed. Well, we don't know that that's going to happen today, but Will Godley is heading down to London on a tractor. We will be talking to him a little bit later on this hour.
So Rachel Reeves set to deliver her tax-raising budget, 12:30 today. She is pledged to push ahead with the biggest drive for growth in a generation.
Well, let's take a listen to her preview the budget, where she claims Labour will deliver on their promise of change.
Today, I'm going to take the fair and the necessary choices to deliver on our promise of change. I'm not going to return Britain back to austerity, nor will I lose control of public spending with more reckless borrowing. I will take action to help families with the cost of living. We've already frozen rail fares, begun rolling out free breakfast clubs, and we've raised the national living wage for millions of working people. And today I will go further. I will take action to cut hospital waiting lists by protecting record investment in our NHS and tackling waste in the public sector so that your money goes towards frontline services.
Breakfast clubs. Is that where you want to see your money being spent? I just love to know why I'm being credited with providing breakfast clubs. Why should I be? But anyway, we are. And middle-class families could be hit with a dirty dozen of tax rises as Labour expands that welfare state.
Well, rumours of an income tax rise have been quashed as the Chancellor looks instead to freeze tax thresholds for 2 more years in order to bridge the £30 billion gap in the public finances.
Well, let's speak to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who is with the, as I understand it, Catherine, you're with the chair for the Treasury Committee.
Yes, good morning from just outside Parliament. A huge day for Rachel Reeves and the government, and indeed for all of us, because the decisions made here this lunchtime are going to affect everybody. You heard all the good things she wants to talk about, but it's likely there's going to be quite a lot of difficult news to swallow coming too. So I'm joined now by Dame Meg Hillier, Chair of the Treasury Select Committee. Thank you very much for talking to us on GB News. Last year, Rachel Reeves said she would never have to do a budget like that again. Here we are. She's going to have to put taxes up again massively. Was she naive, or were they not straight with people? What's gone wrong?
I think she was being straight, but I do think that there are real challenges in the world, and she's gone through all of that have had a really big impact on the economy. And look, when I'm out talking to constituents, they want the NHS invested in. They know what's going on or not in their children's schools, and so they want to see that investment. And actually, you know, we have to find ways to pay for that. So there is no magic money tree, and this Chancellor inherited one of the most difficult financial situations of any Chancellor since the Second World War. So it was always going to be a difficult hand that Labour had been dealt at the last election.
But the government, Labour before the election, pledged to not put up taxes on working people. They're likely to freeze tax thresholds. Do you admit that is a tax rise? That is going to hurt working people?
Well, it's a tax rise for anyone who gets caught in that in time, but it doesn't cover everybody. And I think one of the things that she's been very clear about is trying to protect people at the lower end of the pay scale, and for those people like MPs who earn more money to make us to take a bit more of that pain. And it's challenging, but we've got a country that needs fixing, and that doesn't happen by magic, and it doesn't happen with ease. So she's got a very big challenge, it's true, but I think we need to look at it. We can pick at each individual tax, but we need to look at it in the round and see what her message is today for the people of Britain, which hopefully is going to be about improving public services and being very much aware of the cost of living impacts that affect people. But let's not forget, you know, it was the last government that drove up mortgages and put up the cost of living, drove up inflation, and we're still reeling from that pressure.
But some of these choices that the government has made are basically to placate backbenchers. I mean, they couldn't get £5 billion of welfare cuts through. You were a lead rebel on that. A lot of this is just keeping Labour MPs happy. Who's actually in charge here?
Well, no, let's be clear. The welfare cuts couldn't, I think, be done in that fast pace. That was the challenge. You couldn't deliver them at any pace like that. It needs a long-term plan. And if you look at things that are being mooted, like child benefit, we have a low birth rate in this country, and we have children who are parents are working. 70% of people who receive that are working parents, and they're just not being paid enough to support their children. We need to invest in those young people because they'll be paying our pensions in years to come, and so we need to invest in the young people we've already got, and that's actually just common sense. Plus, it costs the taxpayer a lot more if those children aren't supported to do well in life, and we've got to make sure we're stemming those future costs to the taxpayer as well as dealing with what's happening now.
Dame Meg Hillier, thank you very much for talking to us on GB News. Rachel Reeves will be standing up to give the budget about 12:30 this afternoon. Not long to wait, but back to you in the studio.
And that's happening now, where Catherine is at Westminster, and also happening now, farmers are heading to Whitehall to protest over the tax decisions made against them by government.
Well, Will Godley joins us now on a tractor on his way into London. Will, these farmers are still determined, aren't they, to have their voices heard today?
Absolutely determined, and that is why we have come to London on this tractor today. Despite the fact police have banned tractors from Whitehall, farmers still feel it's crucial to be here in central London driving around. Let me just show you where we are, because it doesn't get much more central than Piccadilly Circus. We've driven past the Ritz and Green Park, and Douglas Turner joins me now. Douglas, the fact you're not allowed to be in Whitehall today, where you'd wanted to shout out to Rachel Reeves, are you worried she's not going to be hearing your concerns today?
I think even if we were there, she wouldn't be listening to our concerns. She may hear them, but she's got a completely different agenda. She's not on the side of the British public, definitely not on the side of the farmers at all. If she understood farming and understood family farming, she wouldn't have done what she's done already. She either needs to do a U-turn on it or amend it. It needs to be 7 or 10 million, and the people that she thought she was going to get money out of are the big corporate farms, which it won't affect them at all.
And Douglas, you say you don't feel the government are listening. How does that make you feel to think that the government are leaving behind rural communities and farmers?
Well, the government don't seem to listen most of the time to most people for some reason. They get voted in and then they do the complete opposite to what they say that they were going to do before. And they need to. The rural economy and the rural farmers, we need to be looked after, because at the end of the day, once we're gone, we're gone.
And Douglas, this budget today, you're urging Rachel Reeves to do a U-turn on the family farm tax. We don't know if she's going to do that, but she could also announce things that could further harm farmers. Is that something you're worried about?
Well, we've always got to concern ourselves of what the budget's going to do, and most of the time she seems to increase everything all the time. We've got the net zero to contend with. We've got the electricity bills going up. They say that there's a food problem, but what we've got to watch. We haven't got a food shortage. You know, we used to have weeks and weeks of food supply. Well, it was 6 days. The way they're going on, we'd be lucky if we have 1 day left, and then we've got to import it, and we can't go import it. We should be self-sufficient as much as we can do in this country, and we just have to take what happens with the budget. But she's not listening. She's manipulated by others. She's not doing the will of the British people, and definitely not of the British farmer.
Well, Douglas, thanks very much for joining us, and as you can see, we are here in central London. Tractors not allowed in Whitehall, but hundreds of farmers gathering there to ensure their voices are heard today on Budget Day.
But Adam, let me ask you this, my friend. You're there, you're riding along through Piccadilly on that tractor. How far will it get? What do they intend to do with that tractor? Will that tractor be parked up? Will it stop?
Well, we are on our way to Trafalgar Square. There are a number of tractors parked up there. If you know London, of course, that is as close as you can pretty much get to Whitehall. But what Douglas has told me today is, as well as being parked up, if the police move them on, they are planning on just driving around. Nothing is stopping them from driving around the streets of London today, whether that is around Westminster, just not in Whitehall, or other places in central London. This is what they're planning on doing to really have a presence here in central London today, and a lot of people looking at us here in central London very quizzically. They don't often see a tractor here by Trafalgar Square as we're just pulling up now, but as we drive past, lots of thumbs up as well.
Well, Will and Douglas, thank you so much. There's going to be so much support for farmers out on the roads today.
I mean, when you think, Will, though, of what the French would do, I mean, they'd block roads and things like that. And presumably by not doing that, the farmers that you are with garner some, positive support and positive enthusiasm for their cause.
Well, the farmers have been telling me they feel very supported by members of the public. It's just really the government who they feel let down by. And in fact, as we've been driving today, there have been a number of people who have been waving and giving thumbs up, tooting their horns. And Doug, that support really is something you feel crucial.
Yes, absolutely. The public support is there with us all the time. They understand that we feed everybody all the time. But the government don't seem to listen. They don't seem to care. You can't get food from a supermarket without it first coming from a farm. Every meal starts with a farmer.
An important message. Thank you very much. We are just approaching Trafalgar Square. I'll pass back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Douglas has got so much support coming in from the views at Holmes. Do keep them coming in. Lots of you getting in touch on the budget, of course, today as well. Peter says, please correct these people talking about free breakfast clubs. They're not free. Somebody pays. It's us in our taxes. Norfolk, I don't think that's your real name, has been in touch saying, if you can't even be bothered to see that your child is given breakfast in the morning, you shouldn't have children.
OK.
Do keep them coming in. gbnews.com/yourself.
Happier news now. Here's our Christmas giveaway.
There's just 29 days until Christmas, and it's the final week to see how you can enjoy it on us. That's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 fantastic. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family, the tree and decorations. £1,000 in vouchers to buy a slap-up Christmas lunch at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. Plus, we're going to get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be going live to Lichfield, the middle of England, to hear about the impact on the budget there.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back. Now, just a few hours now until the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is set to deliver her tax-raising budget as she pledges to push ahead with the biggest drive for growth in a generation.
Lichfield in the Midlands is a Labour seat that was split between Reform and the Conservatives in 2024.
And our national reporter Jack Carson is there for us this morning. And this was previously branded the most English place in the country. Jack, what do they make of the budget? What are they expecting to hear later on in the budget?
Well, of course we are, as you said, right in the centre of England. This is about as middle England as you can get. I mean, there's no second guessing where we are, can you? With the sign behind us, of course, the beautiful spires of the Lichfield Cathedral rising up above the horizon. Now, I'm delighted to be joined this morning by Martin Hall, who's the president of the Lichfield and Tamworth Chamber of Commerce, a business owner yourself as well. I mean, just initially, what are your feelings ahead of the budget later today?
Yeah, hi, Jack. On behalf of obviously our members, Lichfield and Tamworth, what we're really after is for the Chancellor sort of give us a break, business a break, because we're still, as a group of businesses in this area, still dealing with the changes that came in last year, especially the sort of employment rights bill, which is starting to really get some momentum behind it. So, yeah, if we could just see that businesses being given a bit of a break, that would be very, very helpful.
Because one of the things, of course, that was raised in last year's budget was employers' national insurance. Yeah. We're expecting as well an increase to the minimum wage today. What kind of impact do you think, that last year's budget is still having, but then further changes in this budget could have?
Well, of course, the increase in the minimum wage was announced yesterday. So I think it was 8% for up to 20-year-olds and 4% for 21 and over. Well, that's, again, cost delivered straight to the bottom line of a business. So we've got to find that money to pay for those sort of changes. And it's going to be very difficult to continue to deal with more and more cost in a business at a time when we just want some confidence to return, to be able to plan, to be able to invest in businesses, because it's the businesses that employ people, and that's where the growth is going to come from.
And just quickly, finally, if there was one thing that Rachel Reeves could say at the dispatch box today in her budget that would make you think she's got it right, what would it be?
That she actually understands what businesses are going through, and that she will do everything that she can to support those businesses around the country, especially in our area, and genuinely understand what growth will come from that.
Martin Hall, President of the Lichfield and Tamworth Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much for joining us this morning, of course giving us those early views as we head to that budget a little bit later on today.
Thanks for bringing that to us, Jack.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. And it looks a nice sunny day out there, but it's somewhat chilly.
And freezing, yeah.
Here it won't be freezing. You've got Miriam and Andrew here. Britain's Newsroom, good morning.
Good morning.
You two. What have you got for us? I know, what a busy day.
It's the opposite of Christmas. We're waking up not with excitement, but with dread.
Yeah, well, we're talking obviously the budget building up to, but also huge story, the potential, the end of juries for all but serious crimes. Extraordinary. This has been around since Magna Carta, 1215. We all remember it from our school history lessons.
That's right.
Yeah, and of course David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is pushing for this. As recently as 2020 said the right to a jury trial is fundamental to the British justice.
Yeah, so whether whether he believes it or not, there's an 80,000 backlog in court cases, Andrew. Yeah. They have to solve it some way.
But I don't think don't take juries out of the system. Find another way.
Yeah, and they've
Constitution,
absolutely, and they've said that they'll keep jury trials for the most serious crimes. But the effect of removing juries from, like, free speech trials, for example, could be very catastrophic.
Yeah, I don't trust the judges, I'm afraid. They have a group think. And we're going to the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Cold and frosty for many of us out there this morning, but in the west things are turning milder, but also quite a bit wetter already. We've got rain edging into Northern Ireland, a soggy morning here, that rain spreading into western Scotland, trickling into western parts of England and Wales, clouding over elsewhere, some sparkling frosty sunshine across eastern England, slowly clouding over through the day, but generally a fine day for East Anglia and the south east. Still pretty cold here, temperatures 7-8 at best. That'll be quite late in the day. Further west it is turning milder, but obviously won't feel all that pleasant with the rain. The rain should be easing from Northern Ireland though as we head into the afternoon and through the evening rush hour. Elsewhere, though, not especially heavy, but damp and drizzly for many over the Midlands and southwest England to end the day. But we also do end the day quite a bit warmer. Eventually, some of that rain through this evening will trickle towards East Anglia and the southeast. As I said, easing off, at least for a time, across Northern Ireland. Same goes for Scotland as well, the main area of rain heading away, so eastern parts of Scotland may well be drier for this evening rush hour. Just a few showers further west. We'll see more of those coming in during this evening. Some heavy ones are possible across the Highlands and the Western Isles during the night, and then another pulse of heavy showery rain could get into Northern Ireland through the night too. There's that rain moving into East Anglia and the southeast for a time, but again, tending to get out of the way by dawn. And look at the numbers. Compared compared to this morning. Many of us 8, 9, even 10 degrees higher to start Thursday compared to how we're starting this morning. So it's going to be milder tomorrow, but it's not going to be sunny, far from it. A lot of cloud, generally dry over eastern England, but showery rain in the west. Some of it could be heavy at times, particularly for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Northern Ireland may brighten up a touch later on tomorrow, but generally a lot of cloud. Quite brisk winds as well, getting very windy in the northwest later tomorrow, but it will also be much milder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users should be cautious on the A87 Skye Bridge due to high winds. Congestion on A50 eastbound between A505 and A520 in Stoke is causing delays. In Derbyshire, A38 southbound has a 15-minute delay between A50 and A5132. M5 northbound has 3 lanes closed between junction 18A and junction 17 due to an incident. M25 clockwise has 1 lane closed between junction 5 and 6. And on the trains, cross-country services face disruption between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, he went to Sandhurst and graduated, and then decided the Paras wanted him, so he decided to go Royal Artillery. And he loved being in the army. He loved the camaraderie, the spirit, everything else. And he had a great career ahead of him. Went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and came back, and everything was fine. We were so relieved as parents. And then the signs started to be there of PTSD. It was quite a while after he came back that they sort of manifested themselves, and yeah, everything went downhill after that. And it was a long fight for him to try and get help, but there was no help available. There was no one he could turn to. And in the end, my wife and I, we had to care for him, which was very, very difficult for all of us. And there, you know, he was with us for about 18 months, and then in the end, he passed away. He had an enlarged heart. He was struggling very much with PTSD, so he turned to alcohol, but as most veterans do when they have this problem. And in the end, he obviously passed away 8 years ago, and we had no help at the time, and we didn't have anybody giving us advice or where we could go. And I was with Nigel. I went to Combat to Coffee a few years ago with Nigel, and we got this. The author of the book, Rob Parker, presented this to us and sent it to me, and everything in here in this book was so true. And with us, it was like a manual for us, or a diary, really, of what was happening and what could happen.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name is Patrick Christys. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good morning, 9:30 on Wednesday, the 26th of November. Live across the UK, Britain's newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, it is the big day.
This budget is for you, the British people, so that together we can build a fairer, stronger